Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's module, that is module number 7. So this module is divided into two parts, that is exception handling and file handling. So in today's video, we are going to focus on what is exception handling and how we can handle that particular exceptions or runtime errors basically. And then we are going to focus on file handling, how we can create a file, what are the different modes of the file, read mode, write mode, append mode, then what is CSV and JSON files. Then we are also going to create a mini project based on the exception handling and the file handling. So let's get started. So before moving forward, explaining about the exception handling, we'll first understand which exception we can handle. So for that, we need to first understand what is errors, right? So what is an error basically? It is a problem in a program that prevents it from working correctly, right? It can occur before execution, or it can occur during the execution of the program, or after the execution of the program, which is basically a wrong output, right? Now we can divide these errors into three types. One is a syntax error, another is a logical error, and third one is a runtime error. Okay. Now let us study them one by one. What do you mean by syntax errors? Now let's say if I am writing an English sentence, he are going school. Now this is grammatically incorrect, right? Similarly, if my grammar rules of Python grammar rules are violated, then that is nothing but a syntax error. So it occurs when the Python grammar rules are violated. See, syntax errors are detected before execution begins, right? So whenever we execute a program, before that it will check whether there is an error in the syntax or not, right? If there is an error in the grammar, how the program can be executed? No. So this is nothing but a before execution error. That is a syntax error. So let's hear some examples. Okay. Print bracket and then hello everyone. But I forgot to close here the inverted commas and also the bracket. So now this is nothing but a syntax error. So here it is showing that the syntax error, that is unterminated string literal, detected at line 1. So this is nothing but my syntax error. Similarly, another example can be here print, the total is sum, and then again a round bracket, square bracket, 1, 2, 3, and round bracket. Now here I have not given a square bracket. I have not closed the square bracket, right? So here the closing parenthesis is round bracket, which is not matching the opening parenthesis. That is a square bracket, right? Then similarly here, if user status is equal to active. Now when we use is equal to, we use is equal to when we assign a particular value to a variable. But if you want to compare the value, that user status is equal to active, we need to write equal to operator, right? So here the invalid syntax is that maybe you mean equal to or colon equal to instead of equal, like this. Similarly, the another example is if true, print hello, right? Now here, what is the error? The syntax says that if true, then you have to give the colon here. So expected here is colon. So these are the some examples of syntax errors. So I hope you understood what are syntax errors. Next error is nothing but a logical error. What do you mean by logical error? So logical error occurs when the program runs successfully. No error occurs, but the output is incorrect. Okay. Python says nothing because the code is syntactically correct. Now, what is the logic behind the code is known by the programmer itself and not by the Python. Python will only check whether the syntax is correct or not, but the logic is about the programmer, what the programmer is thinking or what the programmer has programmed the logic of, right? But but if the logic is itself a wrong logic, then it will give us a different output. So that output will be wrong, but the program will get executed because there were not syntax errors. For example, see here, marks 80, total 100, but the percentage formula here is wrong. What is the formula? Total upon marks. That's why I'm getting the answer as 1.25. Now this program will execute because there is no syntax error, but there is a logical error. Now Python don't know what is the formula of percentage. Now this logical error is done by the programmer itself. The correct formula could be marks upon total into 100. That will give you the correct percentage, right? Similarly, here area is equal to length plus breadth. Now this is not length plus breadth, it is length into breadth. This is a logical error, which is done by the programmer and not by the Python. Python don't know what is the formula of area, what is the formula of perimeter, what is the formula of percentage. Okay. So wrong formula, no error, but it's a wrong logic. The program will get executed with the output. What you want is not that particular output. It is not a correct output. So logical errors are the hardest to find because Python doesn't know your intentions. Correct? So I hope you understood what is a syntax errors and what is a logical errors. Next is a runtime error. What is a runtime error? So runtime error occurs while the program is running, right? Runtime means the program is running. The program starts successfully, then suddenly something unexpected happens, and then the program stops immediately. Okay, let's understand this with the help of example. Let's say print start. Now this particular, when the line gets executed, so it will print start because there is no syntax error here. Can you see syntax error? No. When it comes to next line, that is x equals to 10 divided by 0. Now here you know that whenever you divide by 0, the answer is undefined. We cannot divide anything by 0, right? So here it will give us a runtime error that 0 division error, division by 0 is the error basically. Okay. Then after this particular error, it will not execute the next statements because here the error has occurred. It will not execute the next statements. So here you cannot see print end as printed here, right? Similarly, these examples, numbers is equal to list 10, 20, 30. And I'm trying to access a list at index 5. But I only have 0th index, first index, and second index. So here what will be the error? It will be the index error that the list index out of range, correct? Here number is equal to int Python. I want to provide or give an integer value, but I'm providing here a string value, right? So that's why here it will be invalid literal for int with base 10 Python, whatever it is. Okay. So in this case, there is no error in the syntax, but there is some errors which are unexpected. That is division by 0 or index out of bound or invalid literal value error like this. These are the errors which can be handled. We cannot handle the syntax errors. We cannot handle the logical errors, but yes, we can handle the runtime errors. And that's why we are not studying about exception handling. Now, these runtime errors are nothing but my exceptions. So an exception is an unexpected event that occurs during the program execution and it interrupts the normal flow of the program. Basically, it is nothing but a runtime error. Examples dividing by 0 or invalid input, file not found, index out of range, and so on. So these are nothing but the exceptions or errors that we can handle. That's why the concept is exception handling. Now we'll try to understand how we can handle these exceptions. So here you have a simple program, print program started, num is equal to int input. So here we are taking an input from the user, result is equal to 100 divided by num. Print result program finished. Okay. Now if my input is basically here 2, the input is 2. So this will be like nothing but num int input 2. So num will get the value as 2. 100 divided by 2 is nothing but 50, right? So my output here will be result will be 50.0 and program finished. Okay. The program is executed successfully. But what if my input is 0? So if my input is 0, here it will be 100 divided by 0, which is a 0 division error. So in this case, it will provide me a runtime error, that is program is started. It has printed the first statement, program started. But in this case, the error happens when we divide it by 0 because my input is 0. So here division by 0 is the division, 0 division error. Now we have to handle this particular thing. Now, why we have to handle? Because for other inputs, the program is executed. But for some inputs, the program is showing me runtime error, giving me runtime error. So that particular thing should be handled. That is nothing but an exception handling. So how we can handle that particular thing is we are going to use something called as try and except. Now we are going to discuss about try and except in further video. But to show you the demonstration of this particular code, so here you can see try num is equal to int input, result is equal to 100 by num, print the result. Now, when I give the input as 0, now when I give the input as 0, what error it is throwing? 0 division error. Now, when the error is 0 division error, don't terminate the program or don't stop the program basically. You print this particular statement, cannot divide by 0, and then program finished like this. So here you can see that the runtime error is existing. Yes, I have given the num value as 0 and there was an error, that is a zero division error. Okay, but the program did not got terminated. But instead of that, when there is an error, so accept this particular error, zero division error. When there is a zero division error, don't terminate the program, but try to print this particular statement cannot divide by 0, and then program finished. So this is how we can handle the exception basically. Okay, so I will show you this particular thing in the Jupyter notebook. Okay, so these are all the things that you have discussed. What is a syntax error, logical error, runtime error, and exception handling. So if I try to execute this particular program, so if I try to execute this program started 50, program finished. But instead of this 2, if I write here 0, num is equal to 0, and try to execute this program now, then it will give me a zero division error, correct? So instead of that, what we are going to use is try and except. So instead of allowing Python to crash or terminate the program, we tell him if something goes wrong, don't stop the program, execute another block of code. So this is how we are going to work on. So if I execute this, so here it will enter a number. Let's say I'm entering 2. So then it will basically 100 divided by 250. But if now I'm entering 0, it will not give me error, but it will give me a line cannot divide by 0 because we are using try and except here. So accept the zero division error, print this particular statement. So in this case, my program is not stopped, right? So this is how we use a try and except or exception handling. Now we'll try to understand what is this try keyword and except keyword and what are the other things related to this. Okay. Next is common exceptions. What are the different common exceptions we have? Zero division error, that is divided by 0. Value error, type error, index error, key error, name error, attribute error, file not found error, permission error, module not found error, import error, overflow error, memory error, end of input reach unexpectedly error. Okay, so these are some common exceptions we have basically. And we'll try to write a code for some of the exceptions in further video. Now, first we understand what is the exception hierarchy. Okay. Now, everything ultimately derives from Python's built-in base exception. Now, this is nothing but my base exception, or you can call it as a class. Now, what is this particular class? Class exception, basically. Now, in the next module, module number 8, we are going to study about the object-oriented programming, where we'll discuss about what is a class, what is an object, what is object-oriented programming. So, for now, just understand this is a class, and inside this class, we have some subclasses. Okay. So, here we have base exception. In base exception, we have some system exceptions, that is system exit or keyboard interrupt, and we have exception class, subclass you can see. And in that exception subclass, we have another classes, that is zero division error or index error, key error, value error, type error, and so on. Whatever error we have discussed here, okay? So these are present inside this exception class basically, okay? So if you don't know what the exception is, basically in this case, we know what was the exception. It was zero division error. We were knowing that it is a zero division error. But if we don't know what the error is, we can simply write here except exception. So we can simply write without giving the error name, without writing a except zero division error or except key error or except index error. We can directly write the class name that is an exception. It will automatically detect which error it is. Okay. So this is why except exception can catch many common runtime exceptions, but not events like keyboard interrupt. Why? Why not keyboard interrupt? Because keyboard interrupt is not present inside this exception class. It is a separate thing, right? That's why it cannot handle this particular keyboard interrupt, but it can handle whatever subclasses present inside this class, that is zero division error or index error, value error, like this, so on. Okay, so I hope you understood about this exception hierarchy. Now, here is one example related to keyboard interrupt error and exception. Okay. Now, how this program will execute first? First, it will print starting loop, press Ctrl C to try to stop it. So here you can see the output starting loop, press Ctrl C to try to stop it. Then it will go in this particular try block. Okay. Print working, simulating a zero division error in 1 second. Time.slip1 bad math is equal to 1 divided by 0. Now here you can see that I have tried to divide by 0. Now this particular thing will give a runtime error, that is zero division error. Now here I have not mentioned here except zero division error, but I have mentioned here exception. I have mentioned here the class. I have mentioned here the class exception. So this will automatically, basically it will automatically find which exception it is or which error it is. So this catches standard programming errors like zero division error. It will not catch keyboard interrupt because it is not under exception, correct? So in this case, what I can see the output is working, simulating a zero division error in 1 second, caught an application error safely, zero division error. So here you can see caught an application error safely. And here I'm going to print that particular error name, type e.name. Now what is this? We'll try to understand in further video. But now understand the concept. Understand the concept. So it is now printing automatically, it is a zero division error, right? Then again, I'm working simulating a zero division error, caught an application zero division error. Now what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to press Control C. Control C is for keyboard interrupt. Now keyboard interrupt is not a part of the exception class, right? Keyboard interrupt is not a part of the exception class. That's why here I provided it explicitly that except the keyboard interrupt, then print this particular thing. Success caught keyboard interrupt, performing emergency cleanup, whatever it is. So when once I pressed here Control C, what it is doing? It is printing me this particular message and not the caught an application error, right? So this is how the program, or this is how the demonstration of keyboard interrupt and the exception basically. Okay, exception class. We'll try to understand more in detail further. Okay, so after understanding what exceptions are, the next step is learning how to handle them so that our programs don't crash. So instead of allowing Python to crash, we can tell Python if something goes wrong, don't stop the program, execute another block of code. And this is done by using try and except keywords or blocks. So we'll understand now what is a try block. Try block is that particular block which contains the code that might produce an exception. Okay, so now here you can see this particular code might produce an exception. So this is included in the try block basically. So 100 divided by 0 is an exception. So it can produce exception. So it is basically in the try block. Okay, I hope you understood this. Try to execute this code. And what is an except block? Except block is that whenever an exception occurs, if an exception occurs inside the try block, Python will immediately jump to the except block. So when my number is here is 0, 100 by 0 is zero division error, an exception occur. So it will directly jump to this particular except block where is zero division error, and then it will execute this particular except block. Think of it as if something goes wrong, execute this particular code or block. Okay, I hope you understood about try block and except block. Okay, now see here. In this particular example, I have a try block and I have an except block also, right? In try block, I have statements print A, print 10 divided by 0, print B, print C, except print error. Now, it will print A. There is no error here, so A. But here, when it prints 10 divided by 0, here is a zero division error. So when there is an error, it will automatically jump to the except block and print error. Error is printed. But now it will not again come back to the try block. So that's why here B and C are not printed, right? It never executes the remaining statements inside that try block. So this is the important concept. I hope you understood this particular thing. Yes. Now, if I try to do like this, try print 10 by 2. Now here there is no exception. It will print 5.0. So if no exception occurs, Python completely ignores the except block. So it is going to ignore this except block and it will not print your error. Okay. So these two things are clear. So once the exception occurs, it will immediately exit the try block and go to the except block, and it will never come inside the try block again. If the exception is not occurred, it will never execute the except block. Okay. Now handling specific exceptions. Now what are the specific exceptions? We have value error, we have zero division error, or we have a type error, etc. things, right? Now let us go to the Jupyter notebook and try to execute this particular thing. Okay, so here we have handling specific exceptions. So here you can see try num is equal to int input. So we have the input to be integer. Print 100 divided by num, value error, zero division error. So two kinds of error I have mentioned here. One is a value error and one is a zero division error. What is a value error? Value error means my program has told me to give a integer input, but the user has given a string input. Then it is a value error. So if I execute this, and let's say I give here a string input. So it is nothing but an invalid number. Now why it is printing invalid number? Because it is a value error. That's why it is printing an invalid number. Okay, if I print here number 2, it is an integer, it will accept it and then it will perform the 100 divided by 2 is 50.0. Now, if I provide here 0, right, 100 divided by 0, it will give a 0 division error. Now, in this case, it will print this particular thing, cannot divide by 0. So, when there is a value error, it will print invalid number. When there is a 0 division error, it will print cannot divide by 0. And if there is all the things are correct, there is no value error and no zero division error, it will print basically 100 divided by that particular number. So this is how we can handle a specific exception. Okay. Okay. So this is what here it is given. Now we are going to understand about exception object. So whenever an exception occurs, Python creates an exception object. This object contains information about the error such as exception type, the error message, and the additional details depending upon that particular exception. Now, I already discussed that exception is nothing but a class. And inside that class, we have different subclasses basically. So whenever the exception occurs, Python is going to create an object. Uh, Now, what is an object? What is a class? I already told that we are going to discuss in the next module in detail. But now think of it that the object is containing some information about what is the exception type, message, and additional details. Try to understand this, okay? Let's say here what I'm going to do is num is equal to int input, except value error print invalid input. So let's say if I give here an input apart from an integer, so there it will print invalid input. But this particular output, what I'm getting invalid input is nothing but I have printed that output. I have printed invalid input and that particular sentence I'm getting here. But instead of this particular thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write here accept value error as E and then print E. Now this particular E is nothing but an object. Okay, is particular E is nothing but an object and that object has what the object has the exception type, the error message and the details. So here it will provide us the details of that particular error. Invalid literal for int with base 10 E like this. Okay. So this is how it is working. Similarly, if it is a zero division error as E, print E, it will give me division by zero. What is the name of that particular error basically? Division by zero. Similarly, value error, we will get this particular thing. If it is an index error, so I'm going to print an index which is not present here. Basically, it is out of range. So list index out of range. This is a specific name of that particular error. And here key error. Key error, what I'm going to do is here I have student in that particular dictionary have a name as a key and value as a rishi. But I'm trying to print from the dictionary the key marks, but marks is not present. So this is nothing but a key error, except key error as E, print E. So E is nothing but it is printing marks. It is showing that marks is not as it is not a key basically. Okay. File not found error. So it will give error, no such file or directory, student of text. So basically why we use this particular as E or object, exception object, because instead of writing a print statement, invalid input or any other exceptions or any other thing, we can directly print that particular object and that particular object will give us the details of that particular error. Okay, so this is why we use the exception objects. Okay, now this is the reason sometimes you don't know which exception may occur. So instead of writing many except blocks, we can catch the parent class. So instead of that, instead of writing here zero division error or value error or any other error that can happen, we can directly write exception as E, print error E. Okay, try to run this particular thing here. See here. What I'm going to say is Here I'm going to write try except zero division error, the value error, index error, key error, but I don't know which error happens, right? So apart from writing this all errors, what we can write here is exception. So if I execute this particular thing, now if I write here Rishi, this is a string, but I want an integer. Now this is a value error. But I have not mentioned here the value error, but this exception class will automatically fetch which error this is. So this is a value error and it will fetch it as an object and then it will print the error and the value of or all the details about that particular error. That is, okay. If I execute this, I will get error invalid literal for int with base 10. Okay. So I want a literal which is an integer. That's why it's an invalid literal, right? If I again run this particular program and I write here 0, now this is a zero division error. Now this particular exception class, again it will fetch that this is a zero division error. And here now it will display the dividing by 0 error. Okay. If I run this particular thing, here the error is division by 0. Okay. I hope you understood this. And if there is no error, let's say 20, there is no error, it will give the output basically. Okay. So I hope you understood what is exception, what is a try block, except block, then how we can handle the exception, what is the exception object, what is the exception class, what are the subclasses, now how system interrupts, like system errors are different from non-system errors, right? Non-system errors are all present under the exception class and the system errors are different. Keyboard interrupt, this can be handled differently, right? Next thing is getting exception type. Okay, what is a getting exception type? Now here we printed just what is the exception error or what is the error about. We have printed E. But if I write here type of E, it will show which class it belongs to. So it is of class value error. It is of class zero division error like this. Okay. So getting the exception type, if I run this particular thing, you can see that int ABC. Now this is nothing but a value error. We need integer, but we have provided a string value, right? So the type of that particular exception is nothing but a class value error. But if we print only the name, now here you can see it is a class basically. I have already discussed it is exceptions are nothing but a classes basically, right? So class value error. And if I want only the name, I don't want this particular thing like class value error and that brackets. So I can write here type e dot underscore underscore name underscore underscore like this. So this is the cleaner way to get just the name basically. Similarly, in this case, it is zero division error. So here it will print the type of error as a zero division error. That is a class zero division error. And name, if you want, then it is a zero division error. Okay. Now, here what you got, here if I write 0, division by 0. Here you got a detail of that particular error. What the error is, division by 0. But what is the name of that class? What is the name of that particular exception class that you can get, that you can see here if you write type of E. So this is the difference between writing print E and print type of E basically. Okay. Yes. So quick reference, except value error as E, it will catch a specific exception and store it in a E. Except exception as E, it will catch most runtime exceptions, right? Whatever runtime exceptions are there in this exception class, that all exception it will catch. Print E, it will display the exception message, but type E will get the exceptions objects type or the class name basically. And type e dot name, it will get only the exception class name. Okay, I hope you understood. Next, common exceptions we have already discussed, and here are some errors of the common exceptions. Type error. What is a type error? If you execute this, can only concatenate string and not integer to the with the string. So here I have tried to concatenate an integer, sorry, string and an integer. This cannot happen. So it is a type error, right? Similarly, name error. What is a name error? I'm trying to print a particular variable which is undeclared. So if I try to print here x also, x is undeclared. That time also, sorry, x is declared above, I guess. If I try to print here, let's say a, it is undeclared, right? That will give me a name error. Name a is not defined like this. And attribute error. What is attribute error? X is equal to 5. X dot append 10. So what is the attribute error? Int object has no attribute append. Now this is a type integer, right? X is an integer and integer we don't have any attribute like append. we have it in list, right? So if it was a list, then we can append it like this. So these are some exceptions. We can try it out yourself. You can try what is a zero division error, try the examples of index error, key error, value error, type error, whatever. Now this file not found error we'll see in the file handling part. This is our first part, exception handling. In file handling part also we'll see what are the file related errors also. Okay. Uh, Here we have a dictionary student name Rishi, and so this is nothing but a key error except exception print error. So it is a key error. But instead of exception, if I write here exception as E, and if I try to print here as E, try to print here E, it will show me marks basically, right? And if I try to print here type of E, it will basically show me the class key error. And if I want only name, I can write dot underscore underscore name. Okay, key error, correct? I hope you understood this particular thing. This also caught one of the several possible errors index error listing index out of range. Okay, now we'll go try to understand about the else and finally blocks. These are the another two blocks that comes under exception handling. So far we have learned what is a try. Try block is write the risky code. Except block is handle the exceptions. Exception as is get the error message. Okay. But sometimes we want to execute the code only if no exception occurs. So when there is a no exception, we have to execute the code that time only. So for that we use else block. And no matter what happens, no matter exception occurs or no matter exception doesn't occur, that time we use finally block. So Python provides two additional blocks for these particular situations. So let us try to understand this with the help of example. So let's say else block. The else block executes only if no exception occurs inside the try block. Okay. So in the try block, I have age int input enter age. Now what try block is trying to get the input, it is trying to get the input as integer. So if I provide him a string, it will be an error and then it will go in the exception block, value error, invalid age. Then it will not execute this particular else block. But if I am providing a value of integer, then it will not go to the except block, then it will go to the else block. Age entered successfully, age is this particular age. So this is the use of else block. If there is no exception, then execute the else block. Okay. But if there is an exception, let's say instead of integer value, I provide any string value, then it will be an exception of value error. Then it will print invalid age and then it will not execute the else block. So here you can see only the output is invalid age. And here you can see the output is age entered successfully, age is 18. Correct? This is nothing but an else block. If you want to demonstrate it, we can demonstrate here. If you run this, if I enter the age as 20, then it will execute this particular else block. Age entered successfully, age is equal to 20. But if I enter here a string, then it will not execute this else block. It will have an exception of value error, that is invalid age. Okay. Next is a finally block. What is a finally block? No matter what, we have to execute the finally block. So no matter exception is occurred or not occurred, you have to execute the finally block anyhow. So whether an exception occurs or not, execute this particular thing. Okay, the demonstrating here. So here if I write here cannot divide by 0. So I am mentioning here print divide by 0. It is an exception. So there is a zero division error cannot divide by 0. But still the finally block is executed. Program finished is also you can see here. Similarly, instead of 0, if I write here 10. There is no zero division error. So it will give me the output 10.0, but it will also execute the finally block. So finally block will execute even if there is an error and even if there is no error. Okay. I hope you understood else block and finally block. Now putting all together, try, except, else, finally here. So if I run this particular thing, enter a number. Let's say first I will try it 0. If I enter 0, it is nothing but a zero division error. So then it will print cannot divide by 0, but it will not execute the else block, but it will execute the finally block. So program completed. Okay. Similarly, if I write here string, it will give me a value error. So it will execute this except block. It will not execute the else block, but it will execute the finally block. And if I execute this again, if I write here 5, now here there is no error, there is no value error, and there is no zero division error also. Now, in this case, if there is a no error, it will basically execute this else statement and also the finally statement, finally block. So enter number is 5. The result is 20.0. Program is completed. So I hope you understood try, except, else, and finally. Okay. The next thing is raise. Now, what is raise? Until now, we have learned how to handle exceptions raised by Python. Example, divide by 0 or value error, file not found, etc. Now, these exceptions are raised automatically by Python. But what if our own program has certain rules that Python doesn't know about? Okay, I have some custom rules that I have to apply in my program that Python don't know. So in that case, the Python will not raise the exceptions because Python will only raise that exception that is built in it, but it will not raise the custom exceptions. For example, let's say my age must be at least 18. So if I print 15, if I give the input as 15, it should give me the error. The Python will not know that the age should be must be greater than or equal to 18. Bank balance cannot be negative. Password must be contain at least 8 characters. So these are some examples where I require a custom rules. For that we can use raise basically. Okay, so we need raise exceptions ourselves. That is where the raise keyword comes in. Okay, so this is a one example. We'll try to understand this, demonstrate it. So let's say age is equal to int input enter age. If age is less than 18, raise this particular value error, age must be at least 18. So we are manually or we are ourselves raising that particular exception. This is not a built-in exception. So if I try to execute this particular thing, now 14. 14 is not a invalid input, right? It is an integer and it is a valid input. But according to my logic or my program, I don't want any age less than 18. So that time I can raise the value error if it is less than 80. That age must be at least 80. Okay. So if I try to execute this, if I try to execute this, I will get an error that is a value error. But instead of this, if I try to write 20, I will get you are 20 and eligible to vote. It will not throw you an value error. Okay. Similarly, enter a password. So if I execute this, the password length must be at least 8 characters. But let's say I don't provide 8 characters. I provide only 5 characters. So here again, it is a value error. And again, password must contain at least 8 characters. Okay. If I give 8 characters, it will not give me the error password accepted. Now, how we can use this particular raise inside a try block basically? Okay. So combining raise with try except let us turn our own business rule violations into a normal catchable exceptions. So in the try, what is a try block? Try block is that particular block in which we have that particular statements which may occur some errors. So here my age is equal to int input enter age. This is particular the code statement which may have some errors, right? Now, if the age is less than 18, raise the value error, age must be at least 18, print eligible. But instead of this particular error, there can be another error also, right? What can be the another error? Another error can be I am writing a string. Now, this is a inbuilt value error, right? So for that, I can write except value error as E and print the error basically. So if I execute this, here I will get invalid literal for int with base 10. But if I enter here 12, this is not inbuilt value error. This is not inbuilt value error, but this is I'm raising a specific value error. Age must be at least 18. So this time it will basically print age must be at least 18. Here if I print 20, it will print eligible basically. Okay, I hope you understood how we can use try, except, raise together. Okay, next thing is about this is another examples. Raise inside try we have already learned. Next is the custom exceptions. Now, what is a custom exception? Custom exception is a user-defined exceptions created by inheriting from Python's built-in exception class. It allows us to create exceptions that are meaningful for our own applications. Try to understand this with the help of an example. Now, this particular example you can see class insufficient balance error exception. Okay, now this particular insufficient balance error, it is not a predefined basically the exception class inside a Python. This is a user-defined exception. So custom exception is a user-defined exception. And we are creating it by inheriting from the exception class. So we have inherited the exception class. What is inherited? It is nothing but from a parent class. We have a parent class and we have a child class. We are inheriting all the properties from a parent class to the child class basically. Okay. This is all a part of the object-oriented programming, which we'll discuss in the next module. But for now, just understand what is a custom exceptions. So class insufficient balance error exception. Now this particular insufficient balance error, this is nothing but user defined exception, and we have inherited it from the parent class, that is a exception class. Okay, pass. Pass is means do nothing, pass it. Balance is 5,000. Withdraw int input enter amount. If withdraw is greater than balance, raise that particular insufficient balance error not enough balance. Balance is equal to balance minus withdraw. Remaining balance is this particular. Okay. So what will happen here is, so if I give a input, and if the input is withdrawal, whatever amount I have to withdraw, let's say I've given here 1,000. That's why the remaining balance is 4,000. But if I'm given a certain amount which is greater than the balance, then it will raise an error, that is insufficient balance error, not enough balance. Now this particular insufficient balance error, it is manually created or it is a user defined error. So that's why this is nothing but a custom exceptions. Okay. Let us try to demonstrate it here. Custom exceptions here. So let's say the enter amount. Now current my balance is 5,000, but if I try to enter 7,000, so it will give me the insufficient balance error, and not enough balance is my whatever is the message, error message. Now why not enough balance? Because I have provided here raise insufficient balance error, which is nothing but this particular class of error, that is nothing but my child class, and exception is my parent class. This I have created custom exception, right? And if I have raised this particular error, print this particular statement not enough balance basically. Okay. Similarly, if I execute this, like if I write 3,000, then it will give me remaining balance is 2,000. So I hope you understood about the insufficient balance error. Again, here we have one more example, but here you can see some key functions define init, define str. Now, don't look at that. We'll study them in object-oriented programming, but we'll just demonstrate you this particular example. Okay, user registered successfully with age 25. Okay, now here you can see test age. I have three ages, 25 minus 5, 200. Now 25 is a valid age, right? Why it is a valid age? Because it must be between 0 and 120. That I'm going to check here. So the message here is user registered successfully with age 25. But in the second test, that is a minus 5. The registered age is minus 5. So here the registration which is failed because the age must be between 0 and 120 and it got minus 5. So that's what it is. So I have created a custom class here, invalid age error, and the parent class is exception, right? So here I'm going to get the self.age, self.message, whatever it is. So here I'm going to create an error, invalid age error, and registration failed, and it will basically give me the message age must be between 0 and 120. Okay. Similarly, here it is a 200. 200, now again it will check basically if the age is between 0 and 120. No, it is not between 0 and 120. So it will raise basically invalid age error, that is a age. And if it is an invalid age error, the user registered successfully, sorry, invalid age error, it will go here, exception. Now, from that particular exception, it will get the message basically, and it will pre registration failed, and E is nothing but the age must be between 0 and 120, got 200. So this is how it is basically going to work, right? So this is basically the flow summary of exception handling. So what is a try? In try block, we try to write the risky code which can have an exception. Except block, we handle the exception. Except exception as E, this is nothing but access the exception object. Else is nothing but the execute only if there is a no exception. Finally means execute that particular all the block, even if there is an exception and even if there is no exception. Okay, so I hope you understood this particular example. Now we'll have some summary of exception handling. So what is the summary? We go in the try code. Basically in try block, we have the risky code, which writes the risky code basically. Then if the exception occurred, yes, then we go in the except block and handle the exception. And then execute the finally block if present, because finally block is executed even if there is an exception, even if there is a no exception. And then continue the program or end the program, whatever it is. If there is a no exception occurred, execute the else block. Else block is executed if and only if there is a no exception occurred. And then again finally block if present and then continue on in the program. So this is the summary of the exception handling. The next part is about the file handling. So today we have already discussed about the exception handling. Now at the last of this particular video, we are also going to make a small mini project where we are going to use the exception handling also and the file handling also. Now what is the file handling? So far in our Python programs, we have been storing data in variables like name is Rishi, age is 20. But what happens when the program ends? The data stored in variable is lost, right? So for that, this is because the variables are stored in a RAM, which is a random access memory, which is our temporary storage. But what if I want to save the data permanently? So for that, we have to use the files. Now, the process where we have to read the file or write the file, update the file, whatever things you have to do and permanently store the data, that particular process is nothing but a file handling process that we are going to study in this particular video. Okay. It's a process of creating, reading, writing, updating, deleting files using a programming language. It allows the programmers to store the information permanently so that it can be accessed even after the program has stopped. So, I hope you have understood about file handling. It is so simple words I have tried to explain it. A file is a collection of related data stored permanently on a storage device. So a file has a name, it has an extension, it has a content. Example student.txt. So what is the name of the file here? Student. What is the extension? .txt. And whatever data present inside that particular file is nothing but a content. Similarly, marks.csv, report.pdf, photos.jpg. So these are nothing but a different types of files. It can be a text, it can be an Excel file, it can be a PDF file, it can be a PowerPoint file, it can be a JPG, it can be anything, PNG, whatever. So types of files, text files. Text files means it stores the data in the form of readable characters. Examples, hello, Python programming. So common extensions here is .txt, .csv, .json, .xml, .html. These are nothing but including text. That is a readable characters. Binary files means it stores the data as bytes, that is 0 and 1s, rather than a plain text. Example, images. Now images is in the background, it is a binary file. Videos, audio, executable files, right? Common extension is .mp4, .mp3, .exe, .png. These are nothing but the binary files. So one example here you can see this is my image basically. If I open that particular image in Notepad, so here you can see a different kind of language, right? This is not a readable language. It is not the readable characters. This is nothing but a example of a binary file you can see. Okay. Next, what are the file operations we can do? We can create a file. That is a create a new file. You can open an existing file. We can read the data from the file. We can write the data to the file. We can add new data without removing the old data. That is the append. If you want to modify the existing content, then you can update the file. If you want to rename the file, you can do rename. If you want to delete or remove the file, then you have a delete operation. So these are the some operations of the files basically. Okay, now we'll try to understand how we can open a file basically. So for that, we make use of a function that is a open function, which is used to open an existing file. And if the file is not existing, we can create a new file depending on the mode basically. Okay, so the syntax is very simple, open file comma mode. The open function does not return the file contents, instead it returns a file object. What is the meaning of this particular thing? So if I execute this particular command, open python.txt. Okay. Now if I execute, I will get something called as like this. Now recollect when we executed the exception handling in which we printed basically type of E, exception as E, type of E. So that time also it gave us an object that is of class value error or class index error, whatever it is, right? Similarly, this particular open will also give, it will not return the file contents, instead it will return as the file object basically. Okay. And now this object has some, basically it has some details of the particular file. Let's say what is the name of the file, and what is the mode of the file, and what is the encoding like this. So now here in this case, when I open the python.txt, I am not providing the mode. So basically the default mode is always read mode. That's why here you can see mode is equal to R and name is python.txt. Okay, this much is clear. Now, what if my file does not exist? So in the case where my file does not exist and I'm trying to open that particular file, it will give me an error, that is file not found error. Okay, file not found error will get. Now this error is nothing but an exception error only, runtime error only, which we can handle, okay, with using the try block, except block, etc. Now, these are the types of file modes which we can specify basically: read mode, write mode, append mode. And if you have to create a new file, if it is not existing, you have to create, you have to use this X, right? Then read plus write, write plus read, append plus read, text mode, binary mode. All these things we are going to discuss in this particular video, okay? Now we'll go in Jupyter Notebook and try to execute this particular command. So let's say I am now executing this particular command where I'm trying to open a python.txt file. Now this particular python.txt file is not present here, okay? So if I execute this particular command, here you can see that I've got an error, that is file not found error, correct? Because no such file or directory python.txt. So now I want to create this particular python.txt. Either you can create or you can directly upload your txt file in the main folder, okay? So let's say I want to create. For creating the python.txt, what I'm going to write here is open python.txt, and in the mode I'm going to specify write, okay, as f. So with open this mode as write as f. So I'm going to write here basically some statements I'm going to write in that particular file. What is Python executed summary, whatever. This is my basically I'm going to create the file here. Now python.txt is created. Now if I go here and try to refresh this, yes. So here you can see that now python.txt is created basically, right? So if I open this particular python.txt, so here you can see that whatever statements I have added, that you can see here, right? What is Python? Python is interpreter, whatever it is. Okay. Now since the Python is now created, my file is created. Now I can open this particular file. So yes. Now if I write file is equal to open python.txt. Now this particular open python.txt, what it will do, it will basically will not return the file contents, it will return a file object. So this is the object it will return, and it will get stored in this variable file. Now if I print file, it will not print the contents inside the file, but it will print this particular object. Okay, what is the name, what is the mode, whatever it is, right? Now let's say I'm going to open a non-existing file. Okay, so if I open, then student.txt is not present, then I'm going to write here try and except. So exception has occurred. So except file not found error as in print E. Now this print E is nothing but going to show me an error, that is no such file or directory student.txt. If I write here type of E, then it will just give me the name, class, object, whatever. Class file not found error, right? Yes. Now we'll discuss these file modes one by one. What is a read mode, write mode, append mode, create mode, read plus write, write plus read, append plus read, whatever it is, right? So first is the read mode basically. Okay. Let's move for the read mode. Now, what is a read mode? From the name itself, it is nothing but reading the particular file, right? I want to read the content inside that particular file. So I want to write here file open python.txt, comma, the mode. Mode is nothing but a read mode, and print file dot read. Okay. Now this particular open, it will basically store the object inside this particular file variable, and from that object, I need to mention here dot read function, file dot read, then it will print the content basically. Okay. So this is how it is working basically. So if I try to execute this particular thing, file inside the file, it will store the object, and if I write print file dot read, then it will basically display the contents of the file inside the file. Okay. Yes, I hope you understood this particular thing. Next is the write mode. What is a write mode? It is used to write data to the file. If you want to write a data inside a file, then use write mode. If the file does not exist, Python creates it. If the file does not exist, it will create it. So this we have already seen here in this particular example, right? First, my python.txt was not existing file, but I have used the write mode here and then created the python.txt file, and also you can write the contents inside that particular file. If the file already exists, its previous contents are deleted before writing a new data. Okay, this is a very important point. So whatever you have a file, let's say python.txt already exists, in that particular whatever content was there, it will get deleted and the new content will be basically stored in it. So previous contents are deleted before writing a new data. Okay. Let's have some example of this. Write mode. So file open hello.txt, right? Now this particular hello.txt is not existing file. So basically it will going to create a file, right? So if I execute this, file returns successfully. Now in this particular thing, you will get a one more file basically. So if I go here again, so here you can see hello.txt. Okay. So in hello.txt, you can see here what is the data we have printed, hello world. Okay. Yes. Next is a append mode. What is a append mode? Before that, one thing also I will show you basically here, that if I try to write like this, file is equals to open hello.txt. Okay. Comma write mode. Now this file is already existing, right? But still I'm writing in this particular file.write hello everyone. Now what will happen here is the old content will get deleted. The old content will get deleted and basically the new content will get added, right? If I execute this particular thing, it is executed. Now if I see in the hello.txt, if I refresh this particular thing, hello.txt, so in this case, you can see that here, instead of hello world, it is hello everyone. Hello everyone. So this is what the particular point here it is. If the file already exists, its previous contents are deleted before writing a new data. The next mode is a append mode. What is a append mode? So let us try to understand the append mode. Append mode adds new data at the end without removing the old data. So whatever old data you have here. So let's see here, hello everyone is there. So it will append the new data from the end. So here it will append basically. Okay. So in the same file, open hello.txt append. So here we are using the mode as append for it is small a. File.write welcome to the Python programming. And here since we have wrote here \n, it will go to the next line basically and print welcome to Python programming. File close with open as f print f.read basically. Okay, now we are going to read the file also. Okay, if I execute this particular command, you can see the contents inside the file. Hello everyone, welcome to Python programming. So how we are reading the file basically, for reading the file, we use open hello.txt and by default the mode is R. So we don't have to specify here the mode. If we specify here R also, then also it is okay. If we don't specify, then also it is okay. Basically, we are opening this as F. That's why I'm going to print it as f.read basically. Okay. If I write something like this, file is equal to open hello.text, then I need to write that print file.read function. Okay. I hope this is clear to you. Now, in the file also, if I refresh it, you can see that hello everyone, and in the next line, you will get Python. Welcome to the Python programming. Okay. Uh, Next is a create mode. What is a create mode basically? In create mode, you will create a new file, but it will raise file exist error if it already exists basically. Okay. So my file hello text already exists, hello.text already exists, and for create mode we use small x. So if already exists, it will throw away an error, file exist error. So I'm going to write here try file is equal to open hello.text x except file exist error as he print e. So if I execute this, I will get an error that file already exists because it is already there in my folder, right? Similarly, now what I'm going to do is if I execute this particular thing, now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to open word.txt. I'm going to create a file world.txt. Now world.txt is not included. So now it is included because I've created it, right? So world.txt. So now what is inside that world.txt? Print file created successfully file.close. But I'm not basically not added any data inside that particular file. So world.txt, if I open this, I will get a blank file basically. Okay, blank file. So this is the use of basically the create mode. Okay, create mode. File created successfully, file existed. These are the two things. Now comes the important parts. That is a read plus write mode, write plus read mode. What are these particular things? Okay, read plus write mode. That is R plus. It is noted by R plus. It allows both reading and writing. And what are the requirements basically? The file must already exist and does not delete the existing content. So these are the two important things you have to remember basically. When you're using a read plus write mode, the file must already exist and it will not delete the existing content basically if you try to perform a write operation on it. So in this example here, you can see file is equal to open hello.txt r plus. So that means you can read the file also, write the file also. So first I have written here print file.read. So in that particular case, it is showing me the output as hello world. Then I try to write the file.write. Today we will learn about file handling in Python, right? Then file.close basically like this. Now let us try to execute this in the Jupyter notebook. So let's say I'm opening the file hello.txt in R plus mode. That is the thing, but a read plus write mode. So first I'm going to print the file.read. What is there in my hello.txt? Currently there are two lines. Hello everyone, welcome to Python programming. So that it will print basically. Then I'm going to write in that particular file.write. Next line, today we will learn about file handling in Python and file.close. And again, I'm going to read that particular file after the having this particular mode, that is read plus write mode. Okay. Now if you execute this, so before this particular mode, the file was containing hello everyone, welcome to the Python programming. And after R plus, what is the extra thing you can see? The file has now today we'll learn about a file handling in Python. And also it is not deleted the existing data, it has added the new data basically. So I hope you understood what is read plus write mode. First thing, the file must be already exist. Second thing, it does not delete the existing content. Okay. Now, if the file does not exist, then it will throw you an error basically, right? Next. Next is write plus read mode. Okay, write plus read mode. It is nothing but W plus. It allows reading and writing, but existing file contents are erased first. Basically, it will allow us to read and write both. But what is the difference between the read write and write read is that if we write in this write plus read mode, the existing file contents will be get deleted or erased, and then the new content will be added basically. So if I try to open here hello.txt in write plus read mode, now, and then I'm going to write basically the write in that particular file. This is a new content in the file. The previous content has been overwritten. File.close, and then I'm going to open that file in read mode basically. And if I print that particular content inside that file, so you can see that the old content has been erased. It is deleted, and the new content you can see here, this is a new content in the file. The previous content has been overwritten. So I hope you understood the difference between read plus write mode and write plus read mode. Yes. Next is the append plus read mode. Okay, what is append plus read mode? It will allow reading and appending. Existing data remains, new data is always added at the end. So let's try to understand this. Okay, if I if I execute this. So what was the existing data inside my file? Existing data was this is a new containing file. The previous content has been overwritten. This was my existing data, right? And then I tried to write inside the file. This is an additional line added to the file. Okay. So this is basically will write the file, and this will basically this is an additional line added to the file. Okay. Now what is this seek 0? Seek 0. So seek 0 will basically move the file pointer or the cursor back to the very beginning of the file. Now if I open the hello.txt, so here you can see that the cursor here is blinking at the beginning before this word. Here you can see the cursor is blinking. So basically this seek 0 will do what it will do is it will basically bring back the cursor to the beginning of the file basically. Okay, this is the work of the seek function. Okay. Now, this is basically the append plus read mode. In append, what we can do is allow reading and appending. Existing data will remain and new data is always added at the end. It is always added at the end. This you have to remember. Okay. Next is nothing but reading files. How we can read files basically? We have different operations. We can read it as file.read, read entire the file. Then if I want to read only the first 10 characters, we can specify the number here file.read 10. Then read line. If I use this particular function read line, it will read only one line basically. Then read lines, it will return the list of lines basically. Note the difference here. It is a read line and read lines. Reading using loop. So these are the many ways in which you can read basically the files. Let us execute this particular thing. So let's say I'm reading hello.txt. So if I execute this, so what it is going to do is first I'm writing here file.read 4 characters. Okay, in hello.txt will go. This is my character 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means it is going to read THIS and it is going to print THIS. Now what will happen here in this particular case, my cursor or the pointer is nothing but after S, after letter S. In this particular point, after reading this particular thing, my cursor is after letter S. From that particular after letter S, from that position, now it will read again the 4 characters. So if I go here, from this particular place, it will read 4 characters. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically, it will now read space IS space. So that's why it is going to print now space IS space. Okay. Now my current position of the cursor is nothing but here. This is my current position, that is space after space. Now it will run the read command and again execute for 4 characters. So A, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it will print A space NE. A space NE. So I hope you understood what is happening here while reading the files. Okay. So if I execute this particular file dot read command one by one like this. So it is basically going to read that particular file and the cursor will remain in that particular place, and from that particular place it will read again. Okay. Now, what if I don't want to read like that way? I want the first 4 characters. Okay, I want the first 4 characters and then I want the first 10 characters. So for that, I need to write here file dot seek 0. What this particular thing will do, it will bring back the cursor to the beginning of the file. And then if I write here print file read 10, let's say. Now it is going to give me the first 4 characters. Then seek 0 will bring back the cursor to the beginning. And then this is again 10 characters like this. So this is why we use a seek function basically. Okay. Next, readline and readlines. Okay. What is the difference between readline and readlines? Readline is basically reads the one line and readlines will return the list of lines. So if I execute this particular thing, so first line is what is Python executive summary. So if you go in the python.txt, this is my first line. Read the line, first line, right? And with open python.txt as f, lines is equal to f dot read lines. Now it will return a list basically. So what is the number of lines? Length of that particular list, that is 9. And first line via read lines is lines of 0 dot string. So basically it's going to return a list, right? Yes. If I directly print here lines also. So here you can see the list. What is Python? Then and Python is interpreted language like this. You can see it is a list basically. Okay. So I hope you understood what is the difference between read line and read lines. Next is about what is how you can use a loop for reading, right? Looping. So with open python.txt as f for I comma line in enumerate f comma start is equal to 1 if line dot strip print f line I line strip like this. Now what is this particular thing? Enumerate will give basically the index, right? And the starting index is 1 basically, right? So it will going to show you line 1. Line I means line 1. It will start from I1, right? Then line 1 is this what is Python executive summary. Now line 2 is nothing but backslash n, right? Next line it is going, right? So line 2 is nothing but backslash n. So it will not display that because we are going to strip that basically, strip. Then line 3 is Python is interpreted. Then line 4 is again backslash n. Next line, line 5. Next line, line 7. Next line, line 9, like this. So this is how you can use a loop also for displaying or reading a file line by line using a for loop. Okay. Yes. Now this is all about discuss about the reading files. And the next concept is related to writing of files. Writing of files, we use 2 methods, write method and write lines. So it writes a string into the file and it writes multiple strings into the file. For example, here you can see file open hello.txt in write mode. Count is equal to file.write. Hi, I am Rishi Fadale. So this is nothing but a string and it will store character by character. So here you can see the number of characters written is 21. Let us try to understand this in the Jupyter notebook. So if I execute this, I'm going to get 21, right? In hello.txt. Now if I run, open this particular hello.txt, refresh it. So you can see that by using the write mode, what happened? The existing data is deleted and only the new data you can see here. Hi, I am Rishi, right? Now what you are going to do is using write lines. Let's say in my lines, I have many multiple strings, basically. Multiple strings, I'm saying. Python \n. Then next string is data science \n. Next string is machine learning \n. Now, with open topics.txt, now this particular topics.txt file is not present and I'm using a write mode. That means it is going to create a new file. Yes, it's going to create a new file as f.writelines, and what you have to write the lines, basically this string, multiple lines, multiple strings. Now I'm going to read that particular thing. Okay, so here you can see Python data science machine learning like this, and also here you can see one more file may be connect will get sorry one more file will get created, topics.txt. Inside that file, you can see Python, next line data science, next line machine learning. So this is how we are going to use write lines for writing multiple strings and write for writing a single string. Okay, I hope this is clear. Next is a closing files. Now, why closing files is important? You must have noticed that in each command, in each program, I'm writing like this: file.close, right? File.close, file.close. What is this file.close? Opening a file creates a connection between your program and the operating system. So once you're finished, you should close that particular connection. Why you have to close that particular connection? It will release the memory, basically. It will release the OS resources, flushes pending writes to your disk, and marks the file as closed. So this is very important, right? So yes, so that's why you have to close this particular file. Now, what happens if I forgot to close this particular file, right? So for that, you can also use this with statement. So with statement, if you use with statement, there is no need to use that particular file.close function or method. Python will automatically close the file. So you can see here, wherever I use the with statement, with open like this, there I have not provided anything like that file.close, because if you use particular syntax like this with, or whatever is the operation we have as f, Python will automatically close the file after executing that. Okay. Yes. So if you're writing something like this, file is equal to open student.txt, print the file.read, then you have to close this particular file, file.close. But the another way of writing is with the with statement, with open as file, print file.read. After that, after performing this particular operation, Python will automatically close the file base. File pointer, a file pointer is an internal cursor that keeps track of the current reading or writing position inside a file. So whenever you read data or write data, the pointer automatically moves. Okay. So there are two pointers, basically tell and seek. Try to understand that. Seek, we have already have the example of it. It moves the file pointer to specified position. If I write seek 0, it will move the pointer to the 0th position, that is the beginning of the file. If I write seek 1, it will go to the first position. So basically, whatever position I am providing at that particular position, it will move the pointer. And what is a tell? Tell will return the current position of a file pointer. What is the current position? Okay. Yes. So let us try to understand this. Writing files, closing files, the with statement. Yes. File pointer. Now in python.txt, I'm opening the particular file python.txt in read mode. And I'm going to print now file.read5. And then I'm going to write here file.seek 0. And then I'm going to print file.read and file.close. Okay. So in this case, what will happen? First, what it will read only the 5 characters. So it is going to read the 5 characters. So what are the 5 characters? Basically W, H, A, T and space. Correct? Then if I write here file.seek 0, that means it will go to the beginning of the file. Then I'm again going to read the entire file. So entire file is read. And then I'm going to close the file. Okay, simple. Now see here. Here, file.read 5. Okay. File.read 5 means read the first 5 characters. So what is the first 5 characters in python.txt? First 5 characters is W, H, A, T and space, right? W, H, A, T and space. So my current pointer is where? After the space. So if I write here print file.tell, what is the current pointer? Where is my current pointer? It is at the 5th position. That's why the here the output I am getting is 5. File.seek 8. File.seek 8. What is the meaning of seek 8? Go to the 8th position. Seek 0 means go at the beginning. First, go at the beginning. Similarly, 8th position means, so if this is 0, This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This will be my 8th position, right? Before P. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to print the file dot read from that particular position. So from that particular position, what is the read 5? I'm going to read the first 5 characters. So here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means P, Y, T, H, O. These characters we will read. So if I zoom it basically to show you what first we did, first we basically read the first 5 characters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the first 5 characters. Then file.tell. This is nothing but a position number 5, right? This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth position. Then what we did, file.seek8. Seek 8 means go to the 8th position. This is 6, 7, 8. This is my 8th position. And from the 8th position, read the 5 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So PYTHO, it will display. And now print.file.tell. Tell with the current position of the cursor. This is the current position. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13, it should give me the answer. 13. Yes. So I hope you understood about this particular two things, seek and tell. File pointers basically. Okay. So what are the file attributes and methods? So file attributes are nothing but a name. It is nothing but a file name basically. Mode is the current mode of the file. Close means whether the file is closed or not. Readable means can we read that particular file. Writable means can we write that particular file. Seekable means can move the pointer or not. Flush means immediately write the buffer data. Try to understand this one by one. Okay. Okay. So let's do this particular things. So for the same file python.txt, I am opening it in the read mode basically. And I'm going to print here the file.name, that is the attribute name, file.mode, file.closed, file.readable, writable, seekable, like this. Okay. So if I run this particular thing, you will get what is the name of the file, python.txt. What is the mode, read mode, file closed, no. Now here you can see till this particular command, have I closed the file? No, I have not closed the file. That's why false. Is the file readable? Yes, because it is in the read mode. Is the file writable? No, because it is in the read mode, not in the write mode. The seekable, is the file seekable? Can we move the pointer? Yes, we have already demonstrated we can move the pointer basically. So that's why it is showing me true. And then now I'm going to close the particular file and again run closed after close file.close. Now it is going to give me true because I've closed the file and then I'm going to write the command file.closed. So these are some of the attributes or methods and what that particular things do basically. Okay, next is the file and OS operations. What are the common OS operations you can see? os.path.exist. So it will check basically existence of that particular path. Then os.remove, delete the file. os.rename, it will rename the file. Make directory or create a folder. Delete the empty folder. Then list the files and the folders. Get the current directory. Then change the directory. So these are the some operations we can perform. Okay. So for that we need to import a module that is nothing but the OS module functions, right? Now I'm going to print the current directory. For getting the current directory, what is the command basically? os.getcwd. That is the current work directory. Okay. Now files here. F for F in os.list directories. So it will list all the files, folders present in this particular directory. If os.path is a file, whatever it is, you have to print the first 10 characters, first 9 characters. Okay. So let's try to understand if you execute this. So you can see that the current directory is nothing but in the C drive users, Rishi, Python for ML and DS. So I will show you the path also. Here you can see Python for ML and DS. And also it is in the C drive basically. And in the folder Python for ML and DS. Okay. Now it is going to show me the current directory. This is my current directory. Now what are the files present inside that current directory? So here you can see what are the files present inside this current directory. Variables, data type, operators, expression, whatever it is. So these are the files present in this particular directory. So it is naming that one variables and data type, two operators and expressions, 3, 4, 5, whatever files are present, all the files are named here, right? Yes. Now what it is going to do is, now the next thing we are going to see here is create plus remove a folder. So when we run this particular command, a demo folder will get created. So that's why I'm going to print here demo folder exist. So os.path exists demo folder. So it will check basically that particular path exists or not. So in this output, you can see it is a true, it exists. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that particular folder. So if I remove that particular folder, now you can see os.path exists. No, it is going to show you the false basically. Now in this case, we are not going to see the folder here because we have created the folder and also removed the folder, right? That's why in this particular folder you cannot see the demo folder, right? Next, if you want to rename a file with open temporarily original.txt, right, as f.write temporary file. Then we have created a basically a temporary file here. Then we have also renamed. How to rename it? os.rename. What is the original file name? And then what we have to give the new name to the file that we have to write here. Now print the rename file exists. os.file file exists like this. So it is nothing but the true. Okay. And then we are going to also remove that particular file. I also remove that particular file. So these are the some operations, file and OS operations that you can basically remember. And here I have already given what is the purpose of each of the functions. Okay. Now, what are the file related exceptions? File related exceptions are nothing but we have already seen file not found error, then file exist error, permission error, is a directory error, not a directory error, OS error. Okay. So let us try to understand them one by one. So if I try to open a file, marks.txt as a file, marks is equal to file.read print marks. Now this particular file is not present. So it is nothing but a file not found error, right? And if the particular file has not given any permission, I mean the file has not given any permission to write. Basically, if I'm using it as in the read mode. So if I try to write in that particular file, that will be nothing but a permission error, right? Like this. So if I execute this particular thing, you can say file marks file not found application closed like this. Okay. So one more example here, you can see import os.make directory sample directory exist. Okay, true. Okay. Try open that particular directory except is a directory as e print is a directory error. Finally, whatever it is, remove that particular directory. Okay. Now this particular thing is nothing but a folder. It is a directory that is a folder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open that particular folder as a file. So this syntax is nothing but opening as a file. So open sample directory. So it will throw you an error that it is opening a directory as a file. So is a directory error as E and it will print me the basically the exception, whatever message it is there. And finally we'll execute even if there is an exception and it is going to remove that particular directory. If I execute here, so here what I'm going to get is permission error, is a directory error, permission denied. You cannot open that particular folder using a file. Basically, I'm using a file syntax, open. So in this case, it will be a file name, not a folder name. And also finally has got executed because here you can see that there is no directory, such folder you can see here, sample directory, right? So we know what is a file not found error. Then we know what is a permission error. File exist error we have already seen while implementing basically the X. So create mode, in this particular create mode, so we have even a file exist error. Hello.txt is already exists and then also we are going to create that. So it will give me the file exist error. Is a directory error, tried opening a directory as a file. This also we have seen, not a directory error. It is expected a directory but got a file like this. And OS error, general operating system errors, whatever it can happen. Like this, there are OS errors. Okay, so the next part is here is CSV and JSON handling. Okay, JSON files and CSV files. CSV is nothing but a comma separated values, and here the each row represents a record and each column represents a field. To make it more clear, I will show you an example. Okay, so this is an example of CSV and JSON. Okay, so you must have seen this particular file extension .csv, right? So you can see that if I open this particular file in Excel, you may get this particular structure, tabular structure, where you have columns and you have rows basically, right? Now, how this particular file content is actually stored. If you open this particular file in Notepad or a text editor, so you can see that it is separated by comma. Okay, so the first line is nothing but a header only. So this is nothing but a column name, ID, comma name, comma age, comma course, comma CGPA. This is nothing but my column names, right? And from the next line, whatever is the values, there are nothing but values of your records and in comma separated. So 1 is nothing but the ID, Rishi Fadal is nothing but a name, 21 is nothing but the age, computer engineering is nothing but a course, 9.91 is nothing but CGPA, like this. Okay. So this is how a CSV file is basically looks like, comma separated values. Okay. So it stores data in plain text. Each line is a row and values are separated by commas, and it is best for tabular data. And what is a JSON? JSON is JavaScript object notation. So here each record is nothing but an object. So this is my object one, this is object two, and there are more objects if there are more records. For each record, I am having a key value pair. So this is my key, ID is key, value is one. ID is, sorry, name is the key, value is Rishi. Age is the key, 21 is the value, and so on. This is for one object, that is one record. Similarly for another record, and so on for other records also. So this is how JSON is stored basically. So it stores data in key value pairs and easy to read and understand. It supports nested data also, that is objects or arrays, and it is widely used in APIs and web applications. Okay, so this is the basic difference between CSV and JSON. And now we are going to study about how we can create a CSV, create a JSON, or how we can handle these particular files of .csv and .json extension. Okay, so let's get started by it. First, we'll see about comma separated values. Okay, so in this thing, we have basically this particular function. So let's say csv.reader. So it will basically read the CSV. csv.writer, write the CSV. csv.dict reader. This is nothing but read rows as dictionaries. And csv.dict writer, it will write the dictionaries as rows. Now let us understand this one by one. So for example, I want to create another CSV file. So I need to import this particular thing, import CSV. Okay. Then now what I'm going to do is with open student.csv is the name of my CSV file, and I'm going to write it because I don't have any CSV file in my folder. I want to create a new CSV file. So that's why I'm going to create a new CSV file in the mode write. New line is equal to blank as file. Okay. Writer is equal to csv.writer file. So this is what we're going to use here, csv.writer to write the CSV. Now what I have to write basically? I want to write the rows, right? What are the rows? Rows is name comma marks. Name comma marks is nothing but my title, basically name marks, and the records are nothing but Rishi 95, Rahul 88, Ramesh 91, like this. Okay. And now csv.writer, this particular file, it will file is nothing but the student.csv, right? Now I want to write this particular rows also. So writer.write rows. So it will now basically write that particular rows in that particular file. And then I'm going to print the student.csv. Okay. So yes, student.csv written. Now I will check in my basically my folder whether that particular file is present or not. So yes, you can see here student.csv is created. If I open that particular file, yes. So here you can see that a table is formed, and here delimiter is nothing but a comma. Delimiter is nothing but comma. That means it is separated by commas. And here you can see that name comma marks where I have written, and new line is equal to blank, like this I have written. So this becomes my header basically, name comma marks, the first whatever data I gave. And then the other three data, nothing but becomes my records basically. Rishi, 95, Rahul, 88, Ramesh, 91, like this. Okay. So I hope you understood this particular thing. Now I want to read that particular CSV file. So now CSV file is created. I want to read that particular thing. So I will use the mode R, read mode, and reader is equal to csv.reader file. So this is the function that will use csv.reader, and which file I have to reader? This particular file, that is nothing but student.csv as file. Okay. Now how I'm going to read it? So that particular thing is stored in row wise, right? So for row in that particular reader, print that particular row. So how it going to be printed is, so name comma marks, Rishi comma 95, Rahul comma 88, Ramesh comma 91, like this it is going to be printed. Okay. Now, the next thing that you're going to learn is about write row adds a single row at a time. Okay. So let's say I'm going to now open this particular same CSV file in append mode. Why append mode? Because I've created that file already, and I can perform the read operation as well as the write operation in this particular, right? So I'm writing here csv.writer file as a writer, then writer.write row, this particular row, writer.write row, this particular row. Okay. So what this particular write row does is it adds a single row at a time. If you want to add a single row at a time, you can use this particular function write row. Okay. So here what we have used, write rows, and we have passed the particular list of rows here. But if you want only to add a single row, then you can use write row. The difference is just write row. Here there is no S, and here the difference is write rows, and you have to provide a list of rows basically. Okay, I hope this is clear. So if I execute this particular thing, then if I read that particular file, you can see that the two records are added here. Okay. Now we are going to study about what is dict reader and dict writer. Now, dict reader means it will basically read the files in the form of dictionary. So if I execute this, now here you can see that when I read this particular file, it was showing me only the rows. But now this time it is showing me in the form of dictionary. Form of dictionary means it is showing in the form of key and value pairs. So this is my basically the key and this is the value. This is the key and this is the value. This is in the form of a dictionary. Okay. So if you want in the form of a dictionary, you can use this particular function or method csv.dictReader and give the particular file. Now this particular will be stored as an object here. And for row in the reader, print that particular row basically. Okay. Similarly, dict writer means if you want to insert or write a particular data inside the CSV file in the form of a dictionary. Now in this case, we wrote it in the form of a list, right? In the form of a list. And here right row also in the form of a list where we have one row. But I don't want to give in the form of a list. I want to give in the form of a dictionary. So that time I want to use this particular method, that is csv.dictReader file, and field names is equal to fields. Okay, now what are the fields here? Fields we have explicitly given that name and marks are my fields. Okay. Then writer.write header. This you have to mention because these fields are nothing but my going to be a header, right? So this key is nothing but my header. Marks and name are my header, and the values are nothing but my rows. Sahil, Priya, 95, 89. Okay. Then since I'm inserting only one row at a time, I'm using writer.write row. Okay. Then I want to read that particular CSV. So marks.csv as file, print read file.read basically. Okay. So if I execute this, so you can see that name, comma, marks, Sahil, comma, 95, Priya, comma, 89. Okay. So yes, you can work in CSV. You can insert the values basically by using a list, or if you insert a single record, you can use csv.write_row. And if you have to insert a list of rows, then you can use csv.write_rows. Then you can also insert or write the values in the form of a dictionary by using dict writer. In that case, you have to provide the fields also and write the header. Like you have to use this particular function also, write header, so that it will identify basically this whether keys are my header or not. Okay. So yes, that's it for the CSV. Here also we have some examples, same examples. You can go through it. And the next one is a JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Okay. It is one of the most widely used formats for exchanging data between the applications. So in this, we have basically methods such as dump, which will write a Python object to a JSON file. Load means reads the JSON from a file. Dumps. The difference between dump and dumps is it will return a JSON string, and loads it convert a JSON string into Python object. Let us try to execute this one by one. Okay, so similarly like CSV, here also we need to import JSON. Then now here what I'm going to do is student is equal to name and the value, marks and 95. So this is key value pair, right? Now with open student.json write as file, json.dump the student comma file indent is equal to 4. Now what is this particular thing is basically my JSON student.json file is not there in my folder, right? Yes. So I want to create that particular JSON file. So that's why I'm going to use a mode as write. Then I want to dump this particular student. Now this student is nothing. Why I'm using dump? It will write a Python object to JSON file. So I'm going to dump this particular student. This is nothing but my Python object, right? This is my Python object. I'm going to dump this particular student in the JSON file. What is a JSON file? Student.json. And then I'm going to read that particular file.read. So if I execute this, I'm going to get a JSON file here. Basically, I'm going to read it, name, Rishi, marks, 95. So if in the home also, basically in my folder also, you can see new file is got created student.json. If I open that particular file, so here you can see that a JSON file is created. So this is nothing but my root name, Rishi, marks, 95 like this. Okay. Next concept is about how to load a file, right? Now I have created the student.json file. Now I'm going to use this particular load function, json.load this particular file. and store it in the data and print that particular data and the type of the data. So if I print it, you can see that what is the data is printed is like this: name, Rishi, marks 95. And what the type of data is, it is of class dictionary. So what load function is doing, it reads the JSON from a file, and JSON is nothing but a key value pair. So it is nothing belonging to a dictionary type only. Okay. Next, now we have to understand what is dumps. What is dumps? Dumps returns a JSON string. So if you don't want a dictionary, basically, if you don't want it in the form of a dictionary and you want it in the form of a string, then you can use this particular dumps. So import JSON student is equal to this particular in the form of a dictionary, right? Key value pairs. If I dump that particular thing, dumps JSON.dump student and store in text. Now, if I print the text and type of the text, it will be of the class strings, basically class string, right? So I'm going to convert this particular dictionary into a string, right? Okay. Then last, loads. What is a loads? If I give a string, basically, now here I'm not giving a key value pair, I'm giving a string. You can see here inverted commas are there here, and then inside that I have curly braces, key value, like this. So I'm providing a string basically, and I'm going to load that particular string in the JSON file. So student is equal to JSON.loads text, print student, type of student. So now when I give the string and use this particular loads function, at that time, this particular student is now becoming a dictionary type. Okay. So if I dumps, it will convert that particular dictionary into a string. If I do loads, it will convert that string into a dictionary. Okay. So these are the four functions. I hope you understood this particular thing. Yes. Next example is JSON with nested data. Okay, list of dictionaries. So here we have students, and this is the first dictionary. Okay, name, Rishi, marks 95, subjects, and in subjects we have list basically Python, ML. Similarly, here also Rahul, marks 88, subject, DSA, SQL, like this. Okay, so here we have two objects, you can say, and in subjects we have list of values. Okay. Now with open JSON dot students dot JSON write. Now we have to create this particular JSON file. So I am using here write mode as F. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use JSON dot dump this particular students, comma F, indent is equal to 2. Okay. Now with open students dot JSON as F, loaded is equal to JSON dot load that particular file. And for S in the loaded, print that particular thing. Okay. So if I execute this particular thing, you can see that firstly, my JSON students or JSON file will be created, and this particular thing will be written on it, right? It will be inserted. Then when I open the student or JSON file, I'm going to load that particular file in the loaded. So in this particular loaded variable, it is loaded. And for S in that particular loaded, I'm going to print S of name, that is Rishi. Then scored, S of marks is nothing but 95. In basically I'm going to join that particular S of subjects and comma then join. So what is the S of subjects? Python, ML. I'm going to join that particular thing. Okay. So this is how we can do formatting basically. Now here you can see that students.json file is created. So if I open that particular file, so here you can see that, yes. So here you can see that root has two items, 0 and 1. Yes. So if I click this particular 0, you can see that name is Rishi, marks 95. If I click again, this particular subject has two items, Python, ML. Similarly, the first one, name Rahul 88, again in subjects, you can see DSA and SQL. So like this, it is stored basically in key value pairs basically. Okay. So I hope you understood about the CSV and JSON files. Okay. So this was all about the exception handling and the file handling part. Now the next part is we are going to make some mini project related to exception handling and file handling. Whatever concept we have discussed in this particular entire video, that we are going to apply in this particular mini project. So what is a mini project about? We have to design a personal expense and budget manager that will allow users to record their daily expenses, categorize them into search records, generate the reports, update the expense, delete the expense, and save all the data permanently. Very important. So data is stored permanently means we have to use file handling, right? The application should be menu driven and should handle all possible file related and user input errors gracefully using Python's exception handling. All the expense records should be stored in files so that data remains available even after the program is closed. So what should be the features inside this particular thing? It can add, expense, view, search, update, delete, total expense, categorize reports, highest expense, lowest expense, monthly report, export the report, backup the data, restore the backup, exit. Okay, so these all things we are going to see how we can build. Before I show you the solution, you can also try it out yourself. Okay, so let us try to do this particular thing. So there is already a code about this particular thing, but we will do it separately also. So first thing that you have to understand is what is the requirement basically. Okay. So what we want, we have to create a expense manager basically. And there are so many requirements. We want a menu driven things, right? So very first thing that you have to understand what library, what things we have to import, what modules we have to import basically. So we need to import a CSV module because we are going to handle the files. We have to import a JSON also. Okay. Then we have to invert the OS also. So these three things I know I have to import. Later on, if you need to import any other things, we'll see afterwards. Okay. Next, we have to create a backup, right? We have to create a file, JSON file you have to create for expense tracking. It is very important. Then you have to create a backup file also, and then you have to generate a report also. So for generating a report, we can use tabular structure. So for that, we are going to use CSV file. Then for expenses, we can use JSON file, and for backup also, we can use JSON. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some files. So create some constants basically. So my data file is nothing but my expenses dot join JSON. Backup file is nothing but expenses backup.json, and export file that reports whatever are there, that is nothing but my expense report.csv. Till now it is clear. Okay. Now what we want to do is we have to understand how my data is going to be stored basically. So how data is going to be stored? So let's say expense is equal to it is going to be stored in the key value pair, right? So what can be the keys basically? So keys can be ID. So let's say ID is 1. Then what can be the other thing? Other thing can be what is the date basically. So date we can store like this 2026. Let's say 8/1 like this, right? Next what sorry, comma. Next apart from date, what can be the keys? Category, description, amount like this. So category, what can be the category here? Let's say food, right? Then description, what can be the description? Let's say spend it for lunch. And lastly, amount. So let's say the amount is 250 rupees. Okay, like this. So this is how we can store basically in the key value pairs expenses. So this is how we are going to store basically. And if I try to print the expense here, expense. So here you can get expense. What is the type of this particular expense? Of course, it will be dictionary, right? Type of expense, dictionary. Okay. So this is the basic idea how we're going to basically understand how will be our expense data basically, right? Now, what if there is a multiple expenses? If there is a multiple expenses, we have to store in the form of a list, right? So this will be my multiple expenses. So it will be in the form of a list basically. So it will be in the form of a list. And here we will have, let's say this is my first expense, correct? And comma, another expense here it will be. So let's say here ID is equal to 2, date is same, let's say category is travel, let's say on bus, and let's say I've spent 40 rupees on it. Okay. So this is how we can store multiple what you can say expenses stored in a list basically. How we can print the expense. Okay. So this is how it will be print. And if I try to print now the type of expense, so here you can see it is a type list. So if there's a single expense, we are going to store in the form of a dictionary. If it are multiple expenses stored together, we can store in the form of a list. So this is the basic understanding of how our data is going to be stored. Now, next thing that we are going to do is we have to basically load these particular expenses, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to create a function basically. So load the expense function, load expense. So to create a function, we use definition keyword def. Let's say my function name is load expense. Okay. Now what this function will do is basically, it will basically open my data file. Data file is nothing but I've already created expense.json. If it is not there, it will create, but if it is there, it will open that particular file. In this particular file, what all things will be there? In this particular file, all my expenses will be stored basically. So what I'm going to write here. Now this function is about just loading the expenses. So here loading means I just need to load it. That means I need to just read it. So here I can write with, and I'm going to also use exception handling. There can be errors while loading the file. So I can write it in the try block basically. With open, which particular file? Data file. With open data file. And in which mode? In the read mode basically, right? As let's say file. And now what I'm going to do is expenses is equals to JSON. Now since this particular file is JSON, I have to load it. So JSON dot load this particular file. Is this clear? Now this will be in the try block basically. And what we're going to return basically the expenses. This is a function, it will return the expenses, sorry. Next. Now what will be in the except block? Except. Now here what kind of errors we can get? We can get file not found error, right? So if this is the case, it will return nothing basically. So return like this. Then another exception can be permission error. So I'm just going to copy it here, except permission error permission denied while reading the file basically, return. Another exception can be, there is something called a JSON decoder error. Okay. Now what is this particular JSON decoder error is, if the particular JSON file is corrupted, it cannot decode that particular file, then we have a JSON decoder error. So we can also write that particular thing, basically except JSON decoder error. Okay. And apart from this, if there is any other error that we don't know, so we can directly write out here, except exception as E and print that unexpected error and return nothing basically. Okay. So this is my function of load expense. Okay. So this is my simple function of load expense, right? So that's complete. Now what will be the next function? So let's say I want to save that particular expenses, whatever I have written. So save expense. So for save expense, again, I'm going to create a new function, save expense. And what going to save is expenses, right? Expenses I want to save. So for that, I need to open that particular data file and in write mode because I want to save. So I have to write it. So here in try block, basically, I'm going to write with open data file. And I want to open it in the write mode basically since I want to save as file. Right? With open data file write mode as file. And now I want to write it basically. So for that, I'm going to dump the particular expenses, whatever data I have of expenses, dump it in the file and indent is equal to 4. Okay, so what is this particular indent for? It is nothing but the spaces that I want so that it is easier to read basically. So for example, if you see here, in this particular case, yes. So in this case, basically what you can see here is root, then 0, then space, name, mark, subject, again, like this. So whatever spaces here have, that is nothing but an indent basically. Okay. Okay. Next thing what you have to do is, we have to print the expenses are saved successfully after dumping it. You have to print expenses are saved successfully basically, right? Now what all the errors we can have. So while writing, we can have the permission error, whether permission denied or not. Then we can also have the OS error and other unexpected errors so that we can use exception as well. Okay. So this we can have in the except. So we can have permission error, OS error or other any exceptions that we don't do. Okay. So this completes my save expenses basically. Okay. Save expenses I can write here. Okay. Now what is the next function that we can have? Okay. So next function is nothing but loading the existing data. So how we can load that particular existing data? So let's say for that, we have already created the load expense function. So if I do like this, expenses equal to load expenses, print total records. Okay, so what it is showing is load expenses is not defined. Okay, here I have load expense. Let's say load expenses. Okay, yes. So total records is nothing but zero because we have not inserted any of the records, right? Yes. Now let's say I have to insert that particular records, but I don't know how many records I have inserted. And for each record, I have given one column that is the ID, right? So let's say I've inserted earlier 6 records, but while entering the 7th record, I don't know how many records I have already recorded. So we can generate the IDs automatically, right? So for that, let's make a function to generate the IDs automatically. So how we can generate the IDs automatically? So we can use this particular function, define generate ID. And in this particular thing, I want to give the expenses basically. And here, if not expenses, then return basically 1. Correct? But if it is an expenses, then return that particular expense like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the expense ID. Expenses ID I want to fetch basically, right? Expenses ID I will going to fetch. For which ID I'm going to fetch? For all the expenses in that particular expense. So for all expense in this particular expenses, fetch the expense ID. Okay. And when you fetch this particular thing, only fetch the max one. Why max one? Because if there are 4 records, so the max ID will be 4, right? And for the next record, what we will do is whatever is the max value, do +1. So this is basically giving me the next ID base. Okay. I hope you understood this particular thing. Yes. So to test this particular thing, we can have a small example here. So let's say my expenses are here, ID, one amount, whatever it is. Now from this expenses, for expense in expenses, that means for each particular this value, fetch the ID. What is the ID? 1. So now max is 1. For the next iteration, max is 2. For the next iteration, max is 3. So when I say him generate the ID, what it will do? It will print generate ID. It will basically print 3 plus 1, 4. So here the output will be 4 base. So I hope you understood the working of the generate ID. Yes. Now the most important feature of a mini project here it is add expense. So let us try to build this particular function add expenses. Okay, add expenses function. Now what we are going to add this in particular add expenses function, we are going to add expenses only, right? Yes. So let's say here we are going to print also one statement. This particular function is nothing but of add expenses. Okay. Yes. \n. Okay. Now in add expenses, what you have to do? I want to provide the date because ID we are going to generate it in date, then category, then description and amount. So these are all things you have to do. And here in this also you have to make sure that exceptions are handled or not. So that's why in the try block, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to give the date. So for date, you have to take the input from the user. So let's say enter the date and we are going to provide him a specific format. Let's say year, then month, and then day like this. Okay. So in this particular format, you provide me the particular date and I'm going to strip that particular date basically. Okay. Yes. Next, I'm going to use this particular function date time dot strip particular time basically. Let's say I'm providing the date here and I want only the basically the in this particular format like this. Okay, percent year, percent m, percent day, like this. Okay, what this particular function will do is, so I will just execute here. Okay, so let's say I'm executing here, I'm giving any date like this. Okay, so here is the enter date 2026 9/4 like this. Now, if I do particular thing like this, so let's say print this particular thing. So now if I write 2026 9/5 like this, so date time is not found. So basically I need to import this particular thing here. So for that I may use here, let's say import date time from date time like this. From date time import date time. It will be like this. From date time import date time like this. Okay. So this will be error, but this will be not error. 2026, let's say 9/8 like this. So date time is not defined. Okay, it will be strp. Okay, so what you can see here in this particular thing is I'm providing the date, but while printing date time dot strip time date comma this particular thing. So what it is going to do is it is going to also display the time also basically. Okay, yes. So is it clear? Now in this particular thing also, yes. After this, what you want to do is I want to take the another input that is of category, right? So category will be input. Enter the category basically. Enter the category. Okay. Okay. Enter the category and also strip that particular thing. Okay. Now, here there can be error basically, right? Uh, if the particular basically if the user has kept that particular input as empty, I don't want an empty input. So if not category, raise a value error. Category cannot be empty, like this. So here we can raise basically an exception. If not category means it is basically giving an empty category. Then in description, I want the description input, enter description, and also strip that particular thing. And also it cannot be empty. So dictionary cannot be empty. Again, I'm going to raise that particular error. Okay. Now I want to enter the amount. So amount will be in the form of a float. So float, float. So float, enter the amount. Okay. So enter the amount. So this will be my basically the input for the amount. So float, it should be float and the input also. I need to use an input function also. Yes. Now amount cannot be negative, right? So if my amount is less than equal to 0, it cannot be 0 also and cannot be negative also. So I'm going to raise this particular error here. Value error, amount cannot be greater than, sorry, amount must be greater than 0. Okay. Now how my expense will be there? If it is a single expense, it will be stored in a dictionary, right? So in that particular expense, what will be my ID? My ID will be nothing but equal to the generate ID expense like this. Whatever function we have created, generate ID expenses, that will pass basically there. Okay. Similarly, what will my date, category, description, amount? It will be as input, whatever input given by the user, date, category, and amount, and the description, whatever it is. Correct? So this is how my single expense will look like. So this will be my one expense, right? Now we have to add this particular expense in the expenses. So what we can do is in expenses is nothing but my list of expenses. So expenses dot append this particular expense in it. So this is how we can do it, right? Now we have to save this particular expense. So we can call the function save expenses and save this particular expenses. Okay. So then we can print a message here like print expenses added successfully. Then here also we can have some errors, right? Since we have used try block here, value error can be there, invalid input, and another unexpected error can be there. So yes, except sorry, value error or any other exceptions can be there. So here unexpected indent, if not description. So let's say, okay, yes. ID cannot assign literal here. Maybe you meant equal to instead of yes. ID is nothing but equal to generate ID expenses. No. ID is nothing but colon. It's where it will be colon. Yes. Okay. Clear? I'm going to delete this particular thing. So we have basically added this particular thing. Now let us test this particular thing. So let's say add expense. I'm calling this particular function and adding the expenses. Okay. So add expenses. Name add expenses is not defined. Okay, here I wrote expenses. Okay. If I run this particular thing, add expenses, enter the date. Let's say 2026 8/01. Unexpected error type object date time dot date time has no attribute strip time. Okay, here it should be strp time. Okay. Again, we can add 2026 08 01 like this. Enter the category, let's say food. Enter the description, let's say lunch. Enter the amount, let's say 250. Correct? Expenses saved successfully, expense added successfully. Correct? So this is how we have successfully created this particular function. Now we have to view this particular thing. So let's create a function to view this particular expenses. So VIEW expenses, and here also we have to pass the expenses basically. Now how to view the expenses? So here also I'm going to print one line \n view expenses. Okay. Yes. PRINT. Okay. Now, so if there are no expenses basically in this particular list, if there is a no expenses, so if not expenses, if there are zero expenses, we can simply print here no expenses, right? We can simply print here no expenses found, and simply we have to return it basically, right? But if there are expenses, so what we have to print is that particular expense ID, then what is the date, what is the category, what is the description, what is the amount basically. That all things you have to print there, right? So how we can print? So for expense in expenses, print this particular expense of ID, expense of date, expense of category, expense of description, whatever things it is there. Okay, so we can use this particular for loop here. For expense in expenses, print this particular thing. So this is nothing but my view expenses, correct? If you want any styling to be done here, so we can also print it like this. Before printing any report, we can print here dash into 80 times. And similarly, here also we can print dash 80 times. So that it will look dash, then report, and then again a dash. Okay, so this is nothing but my view expenses function. So let us test this particular view expenses function. We are going to provide the expenses here. What is the error here? Date. So that's a key error basically here. So for avoiding this key error, we can basically write here a get function, right? So if I do like this, now here you can see that, yes. So for the first expense, 100, 200, 300, and then here you have date basically. But for the first three, there were no dates. That's why it was giving an error basically, right? So if I just print this particular expenses, you can see that for the first ID, the amount is 100. For ID2, the amount is 200. ID3 amount is 300. So for the first three IDs, there are no values basically for the category and the description and the date. Only the amount is there. That's why there was an error basically. So to remove that particular error, we can use this particular get method, right? This we have already discussed, right, in the dictionaries. Yes. Now, what we are going to do is we have created the view expense. We have created the add expense function, generate ID, save expense, and load expense also. Correct? Yes. Now that particular whatever things were that, it was because of this particular list where we just basically checked whether the generate ID is working or not. In this particular case, we only gave the value of ID and amount. That's why the first three records doesn't have the records of date, category, and the description. That's why it was showing an error. Okay, so we have created add view. Then we have to create also the search expense, right? So search expense. Now, how we can search this particular expense? So we can search it by using ID or any other things like category wise or so for that we have to define a function here of define search expenses, and in this particular thing also we have to provide the expenses, right? Yes. Now if there is no expenses, we are going to return print no expenses available. So this is the very easy code. Then next thing, now we have to search basically. So enter the ID, category, or description, whatever things we have to do, we can search it by that particular thing. So for that, we are going to take the input basically. So that input will be nothing but a keyword. So input, that particular input, let's say I'm going to write enter the ID, category, or the description, whatever means you have to search basically. and we are going to strip it and also make it lowercase so that it is uniform basically, right? Yes. Now this will be my, I'm going to make a list here, results is equal to empty list. Why? So whatever search results are there, we can append this in particular list basically. So this particular search will be in expenses only. So for each expense in expenses, if that particular keyword matches that particular expense ID or in the category, whatever things are there on the description, that particular result will be appended in that particular expense. So how we can write here is for expense in expenses. In expenses. So what all things are there in the expenses? If basically my keyword, whatever keyword is there, equal to my expense ID. My expense ID is nothing but a value. So I need to first convert it into a string also. So that's why here I'm to write string expense ID. Okay, clear? We can write it like this, ID. Yes. So this is the first match where you're matching the expense ID. Similarly, we have expense category also and description also. So for that, we can write or by that particular keyword in this particular expense category. And now in this particular expense category, we only have the string, right? So we don't need to convert that particular thing into string, but we need to make it into lowercase because we are searching in a lowercase. So dot lower. Or we can have that particular keyword in the description also. So in the expense description, right? Dot lower like this. Okay, so is it clear? This particular thing. Now we'll close this particular if this is the case basically. So if this is the case, what you have to do is, so this is my condition in the if statement, then colon, and then if this is the case, if you found a keyword which is present in all these particular three things, we have used or keyword basically, wherever it is present, if this is the case, what you have to do is whatever is the keyword, results dot append that particular keyword basically. So result dot append that particular expense, not keyword. For expense in expenses, that particular expense will be appended, right? Now, if there is a no result found, so if my result is blank of it is empty. So if not results, we have to print just no matching expense found and return it. Okay, no matching expense found, return. So now let's try to run this particular thing, view expenses results. What is the error here? Indentation does not match indentation level. Where it doesn't match. Okay, here. Yes. If I now execute this, view expenses results like this. Okay. Now let us try to test this particular thing. Let's say search expenses. And in this case, we are going to provide the expenses, right? Now, let's say I'm going to search for food. What is the error here? Search expenses for keyword in expense category dot lower. So basically, we are getting the same key error base because in the previous examples, we have missed this particular category. So what I can do is here is I can just empty this particular expenses. So I can just run this particular thing, empty this particular expenses. Now I will not get that particular error. So also I need to save this particular, right? Save expenses, expenses. So now there are no expenses. Expenses saved successfully, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new expense. So let's say, sorry, add expenses. Correct? So let's try to add another expenses here. Invalid input, sorry. Yes, 2026-08-01. Let's say the category is food, lunch, and the amount is 250. So expense is added. Now let us try to search this particular expense. So search, I'm going to search in the food category. So you can see few examples, I can get this particular thing. Okay, so I hope you understood this particular search expenses function also, right? Now what we'll do is we'll move to the further functions. So now the next important function is a delete function, right? So we have saved, we have added, we have done everything. Next is update and delete. So let's first do update function, like update expense and then delete expense. Update the expense. What do you mean by update the expense? Update the expense means whatever expenses are there, I need to update it. So for that, I'm going to create a function, update expense. Then again a try block. In try block, what will be there? Expense ID. Which expense I need to update? So for that, I need to tell the user to give me the expense ID. So enter the expense ID. Expense ID. Okay. So this particular expense ID I need to update. So the user will give me the expense ID basically. Yes. Now, whatever expense ID it will give for expense in the expenses, if that particular expense ID is this particular expense ID. So basically, I need to iterate a for loop over the expenses and find that particular expense ID. Correct? So then I will print the current expense. If the user wants to give the new date or new category or new description to it, update it particular thing that will provide him. Okay. So for that, what we'll do? So it will be in the try block only. Yes, it will be the try block only, right? So for expense in expenses, okay. If uh if my particular expense ID, if my particular expense ID is equal to nothing but that particular expense ID which I have provided as an input is equal to, then in that case I can update basically. So I need to print the current expense, print expense like this. So what I will do is basically I'll print that current expense. What happened is equal. Okay. And print that particular expense. Okay. Now I will ask the user whether you have to update the date or category, you can update it. So what will be the new date? What will the new category? What will the new description? So let's say after this, new date will be nothing but the input. Enter the new date, expense date, and strip it. So now basically here also we need to check whether that particular new date, if the user has given any new date, so we have to strip that particular time, new date in the basic format, and then we have to basically change that particular expense date to a new date, whatever new date you have given. So here, basically user will ask the input, we will ask the user an input, enter a new date for this particular expense date. Okay. And dot strip. Okay. So new date will be stored. If there is a new date, we'll change that particular expense date to a new date. Similarly, we'll do this for the new category as well. So how we'll do for the new category? New category. So new category will be nothing but I will give the input, provide input from the user. So f string, enter the new category. Enter the new category. And here I will provide the old category also, right? So expense, and here it will come category, right? Expense category. Yes. Now dot strip. Okay. Now if there is a new category, if new category, expense category will be that particular new category. Same thing as we have done for the date. And similarly, same thing for the new description. So I will just copy this particular thing, and instead of category, here it will be description. Then enter the new description and expense description, right? So the new description will be nothing but expense of description is equal to new description. Correct? So this is how we can update. Similarly for amount also, new amount, enter the new amount, expense of amount, correct? Dot strip. So the new amount if entered, so we are going to just replace that old amount with the new amount. Okay, correct. Expense of amount is equal to new amount. Now after this, what you have to do? We have to save that particular expenses since we have made some changes. So save that particular expenses and we have to print expenses updated successfully and return it basically. Correct. Print it and return. Yes. Now this was all about the try block, right? Now it can happen that wherever you have whatever input you have given here for expense in expense ID, if expense ID is equal to expense ID, but that particular ID is not found. So in this case here, we have to print if it is not found. So expense ID not found, we have to print here. Expense ID not found. Correct? Yes. Now, whatever exceptions we can have, so we can have value error and other any exceptions that we can print out here basically. Correct? Except value error as E or exception as E. So this is nothing but my update function, right? And similarly, we can have a delete function also, delete except expenses, delete expense function. So the same way we'll create a function delete expenses and we'll provide the expenses basically and print that delete expenses. Then again a try block. Then again we'll take the ID, which particular ID you have to delete. So I'm just going to copy this particular thing. Yes. So whatever ID is there, enter the expense ID. Now again we will iterate through a for loop. If that particular ID is present, we'll confirm are you sure you want to delete or not. Yes, if the user says yes, I want to delete, then we can just remove that particular thing from the list. So for the removing, we have a remove method. Yes. So what we'll do here is again we'll iterate. So for expense in expenses, what we'll check if the expense of ID is equal to whatever expense ID I have provided. If that is the particular case, then we will print basically the expense found and also will print the particular expense. Correct? Now after this, in this particular condition only, we need to confirm whether this particular thing you have to delete or not. So for that also we'll take one input. Input, let's say, are you sure you want to delete or not? So are you sure you want to delete? For if it is yes, provide small y. If it is no, provide small n. Okay. So that will be storing the confirm. And if by mistake they provided the capital Y or capital N, so we can just lower it. Okay. Now, if confirm is equals to small y, we can now delete. So how to delete basically? We can write expenses dot remove that particular expense. Correct? Expenses dot remove that particular expense and save the expense. Saving is very important. Save expenses. Okay. Now, and then we can print basically expenses deleted successfully. Else, if it is provided me don't delete after confirmation, then we can write deletion cancelled and just we can return, right? So this is my if. But what if my ID is not present? So if my ID is not present, we can directly print here, print ID not found, expense ID not found. Expense ID not found, right? And this completes my for loop basically. It will be in the for loop. Here it will be this particular print statement. Yes. And then lastly, this is my try block. And then again, value error and the exception error, whatever it will be, we can print out here. Yes. So this is nothing but my delete function. Indentation error in this particular thing, expenses deleted successfully. Yes. Yes. Correct. So we have done with this particular thing, add expense, save expense, update, delete, all these things we have done, right? Now, what is the next thing that we have to do? Add is done, view, search, update, delete is done. We want now total expense. Total expense, very simple function. You have to just sum that particular amount, right? Total expense is nothing but summing of the amount. So we can write here the function of total expense like total expense. So we'll give the expense, total expense is nothing but sum expense amount for each expense and expenses, and total expenditure is this. So this is the total expense. Then next thing is category wise report. Category wise report means uh, the user will enter the category basically. What are the total expense in this particular category like this? Yes. So let us try to write a function for this category wise report. Yes. So define the category report, and in this thing also we are going to provide the expenses basically, and print the category wise report, and if there is no expenses, print no expenses available. So these things are very basic, so I'm just copy pasting it. Okay, next, let's say now for each category how much total I have basically. So category totals, for that I'm making an empty list basically here, category totals. Now we have to iterate. So for expenses for expense in expenses basically, in expenses. So we will fetch every category of the expenses. So category is equal to expense category. Now for this particular category, what we'll make? We will find the total basically, right? How many category and amount we have for that particular category. So in this, for that particular category, the category totals will be nothing but equal to category totals of that particular category will be nothing but equal to uh, so here we have made a list. So instead of that, we can make a dictionary here, right? So that we can make this a use of a key. So my key will be category and total value will be nothing but my value. So here we can make use of category totals as a dictionary, and category totals of category. So this category will be nothing but my key. For that particular key, what is the value? So value means total we have to find. So for that, what we'll do is category totals. So initially the value will be 0 dot get. What get? Get category comma 0. Now what this particular dot get will do is, if there is no such category in the dictionary, it will create it. So let's say for example food. So it will create the food key, and by default the value will be 0. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add here the expense. So when I add the expense, the amount will be added here. So expense of amount, expense amount. So what will happen here when the food category will come, whatever is the amount, 250 rupees. So 0 plus 250 will be that particular thing basically. Now, lastly, what we can do after the for loop, we can print basically that category and amount. So print the category and amount in such a way. So let's say print this particular category and amount. And then we have to display this basically. Now, since the dictionary, we can display category comma amount in category totals dot items, because we want both key and value. So we are using this dot items, print the category and print the amount basically. So syntax was never closed, where the error is there basically. Yes, here syntax done. So this is how we will get the reports basically. So if I try to execute this particular function, let's say category report, and I try to pass the expenses. What is the error? Category totals is not defined. So I have made here some mistakes. Category. Yes. So here you can see the report food amount 250 rupees. Okay. Next, what is the next thing? Next is highest expense, lowest expense, monthly report, export the report, backup data, restore backup. So these are very simple functions. Let us try to do the highest expense now. Highest expense. Highest expenses. Okay. So again, we provide a function here, highest expenses, and we are going to provide the expenses here, correct? Now, again, similarly, if not expenses, then no expenses found, print this particular thing, highest expense, no expense available. Then now what you have to do is for each expenses, we will see the particular amount, and whatever is the amount, we'll take it and store it in the max variable. And we'll go in the next iterations, whatever is the max, we'll store in the highest. And that particular highest ID will print, highest date will print, highest category will print, highest description, that all things will print. So how we can do it is we can store it in the variable, the highest amount. So I hope you remember we have make use of something called as a lambda function. So go in the expenses, and from the expenses, my key is nothing but a lambda. We have used this lambda function, lambda x such that x of amount. So what it will do is basically MOUNT. Okay, so my key is nothing but the x and x of amount. So amount, whatever x of amount is there, that is nothing but my key here. It will fetch the amount basically. Let's say 100 it fetches. So 100 it will fetch, and from that I will take only the max basically. Okay, so first it will fetch 100. So max will be my 100. Then it will fetch 200. So what is the max? 200. So in highest, whatever max value will be there of the amount, it will stored in the highest basically. Correct? And now I want to print that particular basically the expense which is the highest expense. So for that simple print statements we will use, right? So print the ID, date, category, description of that particular highest ID, of that particular highest date, or highest category, highest description, highest amount. So I hope you understood this particular thing. Yes. Now if I just execute this particular thing, highest expenses. Now in our case, we only have one expense, right? So it is nothing but the highest also and the lowest also. So highest expense is nothing but my ID1, date, food, lunch, or all the things it is described here. Okay. So I hope you understood this particular thing. Next, what we will do is you have to provide the lowest expense. So lowest expense will be same as like this. Only one change will be there. Here we will provide the lowest expense. The function name will be lowest expenses. Then if not expenses will be same. And instead of max, we'll get the mean basically. And here instead of highest, it will be lowest. So instead of highest, it will be lowest basically. Right? Yes. So this will be my lowest function, lowest expense function. Correct? Do you have it many mistakes? No mistakes, right? Yes, here it will be lowest, not highest. Lowest. Yes, higher. And also your lowest. Done. So lowest function is done, highest function is done. Next is the monthly report. Let's check the lowest function also. Lowest expenses, and pass the expenses. So lowest expenses. Okay. So you got the lowest expenses because you have only one expenses in the list. Yes. Now you have to generate the monthly report, right? Now here is the time where you have to work with the date and time, right? Monthly report, that means you have to fetch that particular month from that particular date. So here also the function, the first things will be the same. Monthly report, then if not expenses, no expenses available. And now you have to take the month basically for which month we want that particular report. So in the input, I will ask basically enter the month. Correct? So this will be my input, enter the month. And also which month year, right? Month of which year also we can mention. So let's say my input, I will specify here also. I want the input like this, year and month, like this. Okay. And going to strip it basically. Yes. So this is the input basically. Then I'm going to use the try block. So whatever is the date time from that particular, whatever is the input, from that I'm going to strip the month basically. So here we are going to use the date time dot str time, and then you are going to strip the particular month, and in the format basically this will be year, and this will be month. Okay, not equal to dash, like this. Okay, now there can be a value error also in this particular thing. So we can have an exception of value error, except value error, and print this particular thing. So except the value error basically. Value error, in that particular case, print basically invalid month format, use this particular format, and we can just return it. Okay, now this is the input basically, and we have done some basically we have formatted it, formatting input, and we have fetched the month basically. Now we have to fetch in that particular month what are the expenses. So for that we are going to create a list here, monthly expenses, and a basically empty list. Now again a for loop for expense and expenses. If that particular expense dot date starts with this particular month, then we can append that particular thing in this particular thing. If there is no monthly expenses, we can print a no expense found for this month and return. I will just, this is a simple code. I will just copy it for expense in expenses. If that expense date dot starts with this month, whatever month we have given, user has given, then we can append it. If not, then there is no expense found this for this month and return. And lastly, we have to total the amount for that particular expenses. So total will be nothing but sum of the expense of the amount for all the expenses in the monthly expenses. So whatever expenses what we have stored in that particular monthly expenses will sum the amount base, and that will be stored in the total variable. Now we'll print the data, month, number of expense, and total expense. Okay. Now this completes my one particular thing. Now what if I want a category wise? Category wise means for that I need to have the category wise totals. So if you want to category wise totals, so again we'll create a dictionary of the category. We'll store the key value as the key as the category and value as the amount. So same code that we have written earlier. So category totals for expense in monthly expenses. Category is nothing but expense of that particular category, and total of that particular category is nothing but the category totals dot get category plus the expense amount. Right? This we have already used earlier. And then we have to display this. Then we can display, because this is the dictionary, we have to display it as items, key value pairs. Okay. So this is all about the function monthly report. So let's try to get the monthly report. Monthly report expenses. If I call this particular function, so let's say 2026 8. Monthly report expenses. What is the type object? Date time. No, data has no attribute. str time. Str time. So we have made some mistake here. Let's say date time dot str time. It is not str time. It is basically strp time, right? Strip the time. strp. It should be strp. Again, if you execute 28, yes. So here you can see month August, number of expense 1, total expense 250. Category wise also food 250. So it is working, right? Okay, so we have done monthly report also, category wise report also. Now we have to export this particular report. And for exporting, we have used your CSV format, right? We have to export it in a CSV file. So for export file is my expense report.csv. So for that also we have to create one function. So sorry, define the export report expenses. Correct? In this particular thing also we'll print first the export report. If there is no expenses available. Right. Now, now, now this particular report is present in which particular format? It is present in JSON format. I want to export it in CSV file. It is not present, right? CSV file is not present. So we can write with open and I will create that particular CSV file. What is my CSV file name? Export file. I've already defined that particular file at the beginning, right? Export file. And then since I want to create it or I want to export that particular data, I will use write, right? Then new line is equals to blank. You can also provide the encoding. Encoding UTF-8, usually we follow UTF-8, right? So these are all the things that we can provide as file. Now we have to write that particular things into that file. Now we have already studied how we can write basically. In CSV, I want to write dictionaries, right? My all things are stored in the form of dictionary key values. So I cannot write CSV.writer. I need to use dict writer. So since I have to use dict writer, what I can do is I want to write here writer is equals to CSV dot dict writer. Sorry, dict writer. And in this particular thing, things I need to provide is file. Then I want to provide the field names basically. What are the field names? Field names are nothing but ID, category, whatever things I have. So I'm going to provide in the list. So let's say ID is my first field name. Then what is the next? Date is there. Then category is there. Category. Then we have description. Then we have basically amount. So these are the fields that I have basically in this particular list. Yes. Now, after this, writer is equals to, yes, I want to close the bracket also. Next. So I have defined dict writer. Now writer, since these are my field names are the headers. So I have to write here writer dot write header. Writer dot write header. So this will be my headers. And then I want to write the rows basically. So writer dot write rows. Why rows? Because my expenses are in the form of list of expenses. So it is a form of a list. So that's why I mentioned write rows expenses. Okay, it should be writer. Done. So I hope till now this is clear. And then we'll print that report is exported successfully. Yes. And what can be the error in this particular thing? It can be permission error or OS error or any other exceptions. So that we can mention here. Correct? Yes. Now let us try to export our report. Export report expenses. We have basically only one report exported successfully. Now let us say in this particular thing, in our folder, basically, do we have this particular, yes, expense report CSV is created. If I open that particular report, so here you can see that the only record I have that is exported into a CSV file, and this is permanently stored now, correct? Permanently stored. Yes. So I hope you understood this particular thing. So what things we have dealt in now: highest expense is done, lowest is done, monthly report is done, export report is done. Now only two things are remaining, that is a backup data and a restore backup. Yes. So how we can backup the data? Backup data. So for this also you have to define a function backup data, right? Now, what this function will do, basically backup the data. So print backup data. And again, here also we can have a exception handling. So now, which particular thing we have to backup? We have to backup the data file wherever my data is present, right? So for that, we have to extract that particular path. So for that, recall we have used something called as in the file operations and file and OS operations. We have here something called as os.path exists. Check the existence of the path. Is that particular file available or not? So for that, what we'll do is if not if the file that is not there, then we will basically no expense data available. But if it is there, then we'll just copy and do the backup. So os.path dot exist. Sorry, path dot exist. Which particular path we have to see? We have to see the data file path, because the data file path is nothing but my original expenses wherever I have stored it, something but a data file in the data file, right? If it is not there, so no expense data is available and just return it. Yes. But if it is there, If it is there, then what you have to do is you have to copy this particular thing. So now for copying the one file from one file to another file, you have to copy one content from one file to another file. We use something called as like this. Shuttle dot copy from data file to which file I want to copy. So here you can see that in the beginning of our project execution, here we have a backup file, right? Expenses backup.json. So we can use this particular shuttle.copy data file and backup file. And now for using this particular shuttle, we need to import it. So for importing, we have to use basically import shuttle. So import shuttle like this. Okay. So is this clear? So we are just going to copy the data from data file to the backup file. Okay. So it will get copy and then we can display basically backup completed successfully. Backup completed successfully. Correct? Yes. Now, after this, there can be exceptions like file not found error or permission error or OS error. So that exception can be handled like this. So after the try block, we can have the exception like the file not found, a permission, OS, and other any exceptions if there are. Okay, so this is the backup data. Now next is the restore the backup. Restore the backup. For that also we can have a different function. Restore backup. So let's say define restore backup. Okay. Now restore backup. Sorry. Restore backup. Again, in this particular function, it will first print restore backup. Then we'll again have a try block in which will check whether the path exists or not of backup file. If it doesn't exist, backup file not found, and we'll return it. But if it exists, so we'll again take a confirmation from the user whether you have to restore that backup or not. So if you restore the backup, the current data will be replaced, right? Of course, whatever is there in a backup file, you will just replace it with the current file. So current data will be replaced and backup data will come. So for that, we'll ask the user for confirmation. Then we'll just use the shuttle.copy and like this. So it is very easy. I'm just copying it. So confirm. So user will get this particular prompt, the restore backup, current data will be replaced, yes or no. So if it is yes, we'll just shuttle copy. Now here from backup file, we are copying to data file. So backup restored successfully. Else, if the user says no, then the restored cancel like this. And what are exceptions? Same exception, file not found error or OS error or permission error. So that same exceptions can happen. So this is about the restoring of the backup data. Now, lastly, what you have to do is, what is the last thing that you have to do? Exit. Okay. Here you can see we have to do application should be a menu driven. So we have to make a menu. So for that, making a menu, again, we have to make a function like show menu. So in that particular show menu, what we can print personal expense and budget manager like this. And what are things we have? Add expense, view all expense. I'm just printing it. So we have total 14 features. Add, view, search, update, delete, total, categorize, report, highest, lowest, monthly, salary, sorry, report, export, report, backup, data, restore, backup, exit. So these are nothing but my all menu what I have. So I have defined that particular menu. Now comes the important thing, that is the main program, right? Main program. What is the main program? Our main function. So define main. Now whatever will be my expenses, that will be loaded first. So load expenses. Correct. Correct. Now, while true. We'll use a while loop because, so here I will just show that particular users what all choices we have. So while true, show the menu basically. Till the user does not exist, we have to show the menu. Then we have to basically try and take the choice of the basically the user. So user will get this particular menu. All these particular things will be displayed and we'll get the choice basically. What will the user choice? So user will enter any number, right? Input, enter your choice. Now that number can be 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 14, or he can enter any number apart from 14. For that also we need to handle, right? So now this is a very basic code. So I'm just copying it. If the choice is this and till the choice is 40 like this. Okay. Yes. So this is my code basically. So if my choice is 1, add expense will be called. Choice is 2, view expenses will be called. Choice is 3, search expense will be called, and so on for all the choices. Right? If the choice is 13, restore the backup, then we'll again reload the data after restoring. So this is the important thing, because restore backup, it will replace my original content with the backup content. Then if the choice is 14, it is exiting. So we are using your break statement. Correct? Else, if my choice is invalid, apart from 1 to 40 anything, so we will prompt him that invalid choice, please select it from 1 to 40. So I hope this is clear. So this was all in the try block, right? So if there is any exception, such as value error, instead of integer, it has printed any string or any other things, or there is a keyboard interrupt, so we can directly break it, or any other exception, we can handle it like this. So exception, correct? So this is my main function basically. Now this completes my whole program. Now we'll just run this particular whole program. For running, we'll call the main function. So here you can see the interface, personal expense and budget manager. These are my menu. So let's say I will just demonstrate you complete flow. First we'll add. What is the unexpected error? Add expense is not defined. Okay, add expenses is there. Search expenses, update expenses, delete expenses. All have defined like expenses. Highest expenses, lowest expenses. Okay, so now let's try to execute our program. So for that, what we'll do is we'll empty first the expenses. Whatever expenses we have added, that will empty, and we'll do this particular save that expenses. So save expenses. Okay. So expenses saved successfully. So currently I have no expenses basically. If I try to print the expenses, so you can see there is no expenses. Now I will call the main function, and then we'll add some expenses. Let's say 2026, 8, 1, food, dinner, and let's say amount is 250. So this is added. Yes, expenses saved successfully and added successfully. Let's say I'm going to add one more expenses 202681. Let's say travel, train, let's say 50, like this. Okay, so this is also added. Now we have to view the expenses. So here you can view. Now out of this, which is we have to find the highest expense. So let's say 8, highest expense. So here you will get the highest expense, that is a 250. Now similarly, lowest expense for that 9. So here we get the lowest expense, that is rupees 50. Okay. So add is done, view is done, highest and lowest is done. Now we'll try to search. For search, we have the number 3. So let's say I'm searching for category. Let's say category is travel. So whatever category is travel, for that, whatever expenses are there, that it is displayed basically. Okay. This is all about the search expense. Let's say now I want to get the total expense. Let's say 6. So what is the total expense? Total expense is rupees 300. Okay. Now let's say I want to get a category wise report. So for that I need 7. So categories report for food 250, for travel 50 rupees, like this. So let's say try to add one more category, one more expense, 20. Let's say date is 2. Again for the category food only, but dinner, and let's say 400, like this. If I again get the category wise report, then you can see for the food, the amount has been added. First it was how much rupees? 250. Now plus 400, 650. Okay. Then monthly report. So for monthly report, I need to write here 10. So let's say for month, I want September. So for September, there is no such expenses. So no expenses for. Okay. So let's say I want for August. Now for August, we have 3 expenses, right? So it will give me the category wise also. For food, this many rupees. For travel, this many rupees. The number of expenses is 3. The total number of expenses 700 rupees, like this. Next is update expense. Now, how we can update expense? For that, we have 4. Update the expense. So for that, we have to give the expense ID. Let's say I want to update the second expense. So second expense, that older date was 2026-8-1. So let's say my new date is 2026-9-1. Okay. Then the category, enter the new category. Older one was the food. So what is a new category? So let's say the new category is travel. Okay. And the older one was a dinner. Let's say now I'm writing bus. Enter the amount 250. Let's say now I'm writing 20. Like this. Now again, if I view the expenses, so you can see that the second ID has got changed basically. First it was food, whatever lunch it was and whatever amount it was. Now it has changed to travel and bus basically, right? Sorry, travel and train basically. Wait. Travel bus 20. Float object has no attribute strip. Float object has no attribute strip. So here we encounter some error basically. Let us try to debug this particular error. So let us go to our update expense, update expense. This is my code for update expense, correct? Now what is the error? Let's find here. So it is showing error in the amount basically. So yes, here we have tried to strip and here you use a float. So this cannot happen basically. So what we need to do is we need to basically first strip this and whatever is the new amount that we will store it in the form of a float basically. So by new amount, we can write here new amount, sorry. So here I can write whatever is my new amount, correct? That is going to convert it into float new amount, and then storing it basically in the expense amount. Okay. Yes. So this is, so I need to first exit this particular main function and then I will save that particular update function. Delete expense, update expense. Correct? Now we will execute again the main function. So main. Now we'll try to update. First we'll view all the expenses. So these are all the expenses that we have. Correct? Food, dinner 250, travel, train 50, food, dinner 400. Now we'll try to update 4. So let's say update the expense ID 2. So update the expense ID 2. So date is nothing but 2026 8/21. So 2026 8/1. Let's say same date I'm on, but the category is showing as food, but the actual category is travel. So here also we have some mistake, I guess. Mm, so yes, there was some indentation error basically in the update expenses. So there was no any code error, but indentation error. So I will just replace it with the correct indentation format and run it. Uh, there is a one pending input. So I don't know what is the pending input. So we'll just basically restart the kernel here and we'll just restart it from first. Yes. To load expense, save expense, expense loaded, generate expense, add expense. Let's say 2026 8/01. Food description, dinner, then amount of whatever. Then view expenses. Okay. Then print the expenses, search expenses. Okay. 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 Update expenses, delete total expense category wise, highest expense, lowest expense, monthly report, export report. Okay. Monthly report, let's say 2609. Okay. 2608. Okay. Export report, backup data, show menu, main function. Okay. So what I will do is I will again execute the main function. So first we'll see view all the expenses. There is no expenses. So let's add some expenses. 2026 28/01. Food, dinner 400. Again, we'll add some expenses. Let's say 2026 08/01. Travel, bus 30. Again, we'll add one expense. 2026 1 8 sorry 8/1. Food, lunch let's say 300, whatever. So we have added the three expenses now. So in view expense, you can see. Now already we have discussed about the add, view, search, category wise, all the things we have discussed. We'll just update the expense. The issue was in the update expenses, right? So let's say I want to update the travel expense. So this is the second, sorry. So ID is 2. So second ID is nothing but a travel. This is now giving me the correct expense. So new date I'm making as 2026 8 2, and let's say category I'm keeping the same travel, but instead of bus I'm writing train. I'm changing the amount to 50 like this. So expenses saved successfully. Now if I view the expenses, so here you can see that the updated one expenses. So it is from train and 50. It is updated. So we have seen add expense, view, search, update, delete. Delete we have not seen. Total we have seen, category wise seen, highest seen, lowest seen, monthly report seen. So let's now to switch to delete expense. So fifth, let's say I want to delete the third ID. So third ID is this particular thing. So are you sure you want to delete? Yes. So it is deleted. Now if you view the expense, you can see the third ID is got deleted. Okay. Yes. Next is the export the report and backup the data, restore the backup. So let's try to export the report. Export the report. For that we have the choice 11. So in the evaluation choice, report exported successfully to expense report.csv. So this is our expense report.csv. So if I just refresh it, so here we will get our new records, right? ID number 1 and 2, and these are the new records. Okay. Then backup the data. So for backing up the data, we press 12, backup completed, and backup is saved basically in expenses backup JSON. Here also we'll get the backup data, all the two things basically. So yes, here you can see that. So this particular thing has ID number 1, date, food, dinner, amount 400. And this is particular thing has ID number 2, date, category, description, amount. Now we'll try to execute about the restore the backup. Now my backup data is present in the this particular file, like expense backup JSON. Now what I will do is I will change the particular data in my expense. So I'm going to add now one more data. Let's say 2026 082 travel bus 30. Again, I'm going to add one more record 2026 8 2 food lunch 40 whatever. So now if I view the data, I have total 4 records. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, this is my nothing but an expense. In the expense, I have 4 records. So if I go in expenses.json, you will get here 4 records basically. So there are 4 records 0, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to restore the backup. So once I click here, restore backup. So do you want to restore? Yes, I want to restore. So backup restore successfully. Now what will happen is, now here you can see there were 4 records. Now if I refresh it, now the whatever backup 2 records we have backup, that will come in this particular expense record. So now here we have only 2 records. So this is the demonstration of all the 14 features we had in our mini project basically. So we have successfully built a mini project where we have these many features, and I hope you understood about how we can use exception handling and file handling in daily life. I hope you understood this particular video. If you find it helpful, do like, share and subscribe the channel for more such video. Thank you so much for watching. Keep learning.